Riding along with Denny Hamlin and that Toyota on board as they come out of turn 4 for the final time before we see the green flag racing at Richmond. Tyler Reddick started up front with Kyle Busch in that front row, but Reddick has separated himself early. 2 by 2 behind him, though. Denny Hamlin in the 11, looking already trying to take second away from Busch.
Truex way up the racetrack there in turn 3 and 4. The 19 losing a few spots. Locked up the left front tire, I believe.
Yeah, I couldn't tell if it's the left front or left rear. I agree with you, Junior. I saw smoke and up the hill he went. And now he here's on the 3 wide top with 2 Bass Pro cars in the mix.
Is it 4 wide now as we see that 22 of Joey Logano throwing it in right in front of Ross Chastain. Stays 3 wide. Austin Dillon in the 3 on the inside. The 14 right there of Chase Briscoe in the middle of that sandwich, and the 19 of Martin Truex Jr. outside of him. That gets sorted out. Let's take another look at the 19 and what happened.
Yeah, see Truex driving into turn 3, gets on the brakes. Oh, contact actually with the 47. Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
Yeah, that's pretty hard contact, honestly, this early in the race. Looks like Truex, though, trying to work hard on that outside, trying to maintain, not lose too many spots.
Yeah, right. Started 10th and back to 17th. That little bobble cost a lot of spots.
Right now, everybody in the top 10 running right on the bottom. We expect to see this track get a little wider with the heat we have today and how green the racetrack is. Hoping this racetrack will widen out a little bit as it gets rubbered up.
We just heard Kyle Busch say to protect your tires, you got to slow down a little bit, but you got to find the balance because you don't want to slow down so much that people pass you, but you want to stay in front of them. How, as a driver, do you do that?
You just got to maintain the gap. You know, you got help from your spotter behind to tell you about the gap behind you. And you obviously can see what's out in front, but you just need to know what kind of lap times and what kind of speeds behind you to be able to moderate how hard you're driving your race car if you want to save a little bit of tire or a little bit of speed for the long run.
Out in front of the field, Tyler Reddick has been up front for 5 laps. Those 5 laps are monumental for the 45 driver because it's the first laps he's ever led on a short track. I think that is an amazing statistic for Tyler Reddick.
Well, they better not get too used to it because that 11 car, I think, is just a little bit quicker. Denny Hamlin starting to work a different line in 3 and 4. I think we'll see this throughout the day. He ran high in 3 and 4 the last time by there, this time right on the bottom.
Briscoe on the outside of that 3 of Austin Dillon. That battle down on the bottom of your screen. 17th, 18th right there, 16th, 17th. The lead battle, you see 3 car lengths separating Reddick from Hamlin up front.
Yeah, the 45 gets up the racetrack a little bit on the corner exit. Denny likes that. He says, hey, I'll take that bottom. Move up off the racetrack and give me some clean air. Reddick will try to tidy up that turn 3 and 4 this time by Marty.
Tyler Reddick out front. He is in the playoffs with the win earlier this year at Circuit of the Americas, but this is a pretty important race for Tyler Reddick and the 45 team, as crew chief Billy Scott told me. He drives for Michael Jordan, and the guy who's tracking him down right now, Denny Hamlin. And Billy told me we have to start building some consistency and some momentum. Speed has not been our problem all year long. Execution had. Steve, they finished second at Pocono last week, and he said that honestly is the first race we've executed in 2 months. How important as a team is it when you're in the playoffs to build that momentum and that consistency going into the playoffs?
Well, consistency is the key, right? You got to have the firepower to win when you get late into the playoffs. But with 16 cars making it and 12 advancing out of round 1, 8 advancing out of round 2, consistency still pays. Only 3 guys can win in each round. I think it's vitally important. And that's really what the guy at the bottom of your screen, that 22 of Joe Logano, he's the champion from a year ago. And that's kind of what he did. Consistent, worked his way through the playoffs, and then when it mattered, he had the firepower and went and won Phoenix.
Logano, one of the drivers on the move, has advanced 4 positions since the start of the race. LaJoie and Allmendinger, both of those have moved up 5 spots as we see, speaking of moving up. We saw the 10 of Eric Almirola move up the racetrack and push that 22 a little higher than I think he wanted to go.
Keep this in mind, we're 11 laps into a run. And the cars, every car in the field has slowed down over 1 second from their fastest lap. That is just how quick the grip goes away.
This is a good little battle at the top of the screen between Kyle Busch, the 9 of Chase Elliott, and Bubba Wallace, who's showing pretty decent speed. Qualified fifth, still running there. But on the start, the initial start of the race, he lost a spot or two, has drove back and right to the back bumper of Chase Elliott now.
Maybe puts the back bumper on there as we see the DoorDash on board of Bubba Wallace.
He dives to the inside here in turn 1 and 2. He's going to try to wrap this bottom. I think he easily takes the spot from Chase.
So Bubba Wallace now moves up into the 4th spot. Nice job. You hear on the radio, Reddick, Hamlin, Busch, Wallace, the top 4.
Hasn't been a good racetrack for Bubba. And the last 3 results, 26th, 13th, and 22nd. So trying to have a great day today as he continues to build on his, the points he has over the bubble. We got some road courses coming up. We talked about it in the pre-race. He knows he's not great at those road courses, so a good day today is important.
2 wins on the career for Bubba Wallace, one at Talladega, the other at Kansas last year. Hasn't happened on a short track, though, yet. Dylan.
Well, and Junior mentioned that this place has been a struggle for Bubba in the past, and here's the reason why. This place and a place like Loudon, these flatter short tracks, the car just doesn't drive very well generally, but it's always fast. And Bubba says, I'd rather it be that way than the opposite. So it's just going to be about managing that balance all day long. It's going to be extra challenging today with the heat and the tires that fall off, but today is just going to be about how well they execute. Simple as that. Hootie Barton, the crew chief, said, we don't try any harder here or Michigan than we do at the road courses, but it sure would be nice to have a couple of good races here to give us some buffer over the next 3 to end the regular season, Dave.
Let them come back to you. That was the word to William Byron. Started 6th, running 6th, but they were seeing things on the pit box that told them Byron was doing all the right things. The cars in front of him were doing things that were going to bring them back toward the 24. Jeff, sometimes you got to listen to that and just ride in the 24 or another car. Well, the other cars are getting worse.
Well, Steve just talked about how the fall off of tires is so big here, and I think that's what you have to do. If your car's not perfect and you make those tires angry, it's going to get worse. You're going to heat those tires up and the car is going to continue to drive bad. So you have to use patience at this racetrack.
I love to hear drivers that are now appearing on the TV talk about patience. Now, Jeff, I'm going to give you credit. You always had a lot of patience. I was being funny.
Wait, who are you talking about then?
I think we know. We all know. So it started off short track racing. 3 and the 14 already. A little contact there. And Austin Dillon, we'll see how aggressive he gets as the battles continue all the way around this short track. You're watching the Cookout 400 on USA. want to take a look at the Xfinity fastest lap. You don't have to go any further back than race leader Tyler Reddick. It was lap 2, 23:27 was the fastest lap. Steve, where are they now? What are they running?
North of 25. We're at a 2-second fall off at this point. 2 seconds slower.
26 laps in and already 2 seconds off the fastest lap. Marty.
Well, that fall off is just crazy, Rick, but it makes the racing very interesting. Let's ride on board with Denny Hamlin thanks to Mavis Tire and Brakes. 123 degrees inside the car. So shifting, Jeff Burton, has become a huge deal here in NASCAR. But notice what Denny Hamlin is not doing. He is not shifting right now, just riding around in 5th gear. In fact, I've heard a number of spotters talk about they see a lot of cars just riding around in 5th gear and not shifting. Would that be a move to save tires and maybe gain lap time?
Yeah, I think it's a possibility that what they're trying to do is not to have so much RPM on corner exit so it doesn't spin those rear tires. And running this high groove, I think shifting becomes less important. The RPMs don't get down as low as they do when they're running the bottom.
And as soon as Denny gets to the back bumper of the 45 car, he has to move around to be able to get the aerodynamic advantage that front splitter's trying to give him. So it's working in turn 1 and 2. We saw him gain on the back of Reddick, but the top of 3 and 4 is really hard to do. You almost got to commit further up the racetrack to have a chance at making the top work because of the transition and the shape of the corner on exit. We see some people in the back of the field already moving all the way to the fence. The back 5 or 8 cars are running right up against the wall in turn 3 and 4, and I think if you move up there, you might be able to find some speed here late in the tire run.
So much fun riding on board and listening to the throttle. All right, I mean, listen to how easy he is with this throttle to try to get the power down.
See how much further up the racetrack he's trying to go. I think if he committed a little higher, this is where he would gain all the way down this long straightaway. He'd be able to make that run.
So we went on board. I mean, first of all, look at the temperature, 125 degrees. We talk about that. But then another interesting, I want to point out right here, because we're going to talk a lot about brakes again today. That blue knob right there, that's the brake adjuster. Turn it forward, puts more front brake in it. Turn it counterclockwise. It takes front brake out of it to adjust that balance over a long run on corner entry.
He's also not shifting. That's one thing we're seeing here. He's staying in 5th. Is that fuel saving or is?
Oh, you have enough fuel that this is the one track as a driver I'd be like, hey man, you know how I'm on you about saving gas? You get a week off. But this week, you got to save tire. You're still going to save something, just not fuel.
One thing to pay attention to as well, watch his throttle. He's on the straight and gets full throttle like a while after being on the front straightaway. This is one of those racetracks, believe it or not, you can actually spin the rear tires at the start-finish line, especially as this run goes on. You get to about 50, 60 laps in this run, and it gets really tough on rear grip.
Now, Jeff Jr., do you feel like you're on the edge of spinning out if you would give it more gas? I mean, if you mash the gas, do you think you're going to spin out? Are you right on that edge with these laps?
No, it just feels like you're tearing the tires up, right? When you can hear the RPM and feel the tire, you're just like ripping the tire away from the tread as you're trying to spin it down a straightaway. And I think same thing in dirt racing. I'm not an expert, didn't do a lot of dirt racing, but I think you got to be careful with the throttle to be able to allow that tire to last. You can burn it off. You can run it too hard, and then you can get it will spin, as Burton said, down the straightaway. A lot of guys will even move down the racetrack into some asphalt that's less used over the last decade and a half. They think that's actually even better for tire life as well, so we may see some people running lower on the front straightaway. Keep an eye out for that.
BJ McLeod is at the back of the pack, and we just saw the 45 about to catch him, as this is the pack.
Yeah.
We're talking about. We got a lot of cars running either side by side or getting a little congested on this short.
What I wanted to show right here is how high these cars are running. Now, these are the cars that are at the tail end of the field, but this is exactly what we saw at New Hampshire just a few weeks ago. This is the group of cars that went all the way to the fence in turn 3 and 4 first at New Hampshire. By the end of the race, the entire field was doing it. If these cars can show speed doing this right here, the rest of the field will catch on and start picking it up as this race goes on.
A lot higher line being run by different drivers. We see the 45 has been able to get by BJ McLeod, so now one car is a lap down.
Let's take a look right here. This is the 31 of Haley, 2 of Cindric. We're going to see this a lot. No harm, no foul, but that just shows you how easy it is to slide up. Now, these two cars, we talk about saving tire and doing everything right. They have to work their way through this mess. So I think that's the hardest time to stay patient. Out here by yourself, I think you can have a target lap time. You see it on your dash. But then once you get into traffic, it's going to be really frustrating because even those cars at the back of the pack, we run them, what, 37 laps, right? So they're only a couple tenths slower than the leader. It's not like they're going to just drive right by him.
And they're going to race the leader hardest because, they're trying to stay on the lead lap. The second place car catches a little bit more of a break by those lap cars. They're already lapped down. They're not going to hold up second, third, fourth as much as they will the leader. So this is an opportunity for Denny to try to close the gap and maybe pass for the lead.
Yeah, and although Denny, you just saw right there, he ran the bottom of the racetrack. What he did do is stay against the wall for forever into turn one, meaning that he trusts the grip up on the upper end of the racetrack. As you ride along, watch this, he's going to put the right side right on this wall, and then he's going to stay against it as long as he possibly can and then get to the yellow line a little bit later. See Reddick up the racetrack sooner? Denny Hamlin, he's running that yellow line all the way around the corner. Two completely different ways of driving this racetrack.
So Denny Hamlin running second. He's a little over a second behind Tyler Reddick, who has been out front all 39 laps. Denny, pre-race, well, he was out there having a little fun with the crowd, even though they were booing here in Richmond. NBC Sports coverage of NASCAR on USA is brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places. Sonic 2 for $7 deal for limited time only at Sonic. And by the new movie Gran Turismo, based on a true story, only in theaters August 11th. Reddick and Hamlin still separated by 1.1 seconds. Then it's Wallace, Busch, Elliott all in the top 5. Let's get a few updates from pit road. We'll start with Harvick in the 4.
And Rick, he's moved up 2 positions since the start of the race. No word on the radio, just quietly going about his work. I asked Rodney Childers, his crew chief, does this racetrack represent a place to get Kevin his first win of the year and before he retires? He goes, well, not any more really than the rest of the tracks, maybe except Talladega, Daytona, and the road courses. They think they can win here today. Got a good car, Marty.
Terrific qualifying effort for Ricky Stenhouse and JTG Doherty Racing. They started 9th, running in 11th right now, and some pretty good lap times the longer they run. Mike Kelly told me this week, there's 2 races that really bother me this year. Richmond in the spring was one of those. Honestly felt like we had a top 5 car in that race. We had problems on pit road. We lost all of our track position. So this is one, Dylan, that has been circled on the calendar for for months for the 47 team.
It's been circled on the calendar for the 19 team of Martin Truex Jr. as well, but they have gone backwards at the start. Started 10th, they run 25th right now. Martin said the left rear is gone, we have no traction, we haven't been good since the start of this race, so they're going to have to take a big swing at it when they come down here. James Small said the summer races have been a struggle, the spring races have been good, but they're going to have to figure something out here for Truex on this first stop. Right behind him, and Ashley Furniture on the move driver, is A.J. Allmendinger, who started in the 36th spot. He's up to the 26th position, rather. Derek Krause, who runs part-time in the Xfinity Series for Colleague Racing, qualified the car yesterday, got it into a window that A.J.'s comfortable with, and he's been able to move forward so far.
Again, Allmendinger was in Road America and that race yesterday in the Xfinity Series, looking for a win for Colleague Racing, and then this morning flew here to Richmond so he could run this race. And that was already on the schedule. At the beginning of the year, they had already targeted Road America as a race that A.J. Allmendinger was going to run in the Xfinity Series. Well, they didn't know that he would be 17th in the points. And again, you take the top 16 into the playoffs. So he missed practice and qualifying yesterday here at this track.
Yeah, and I was shocked that A.J. wasn't better yesterday. Sat on the pole and had good pace, and then had some brake issues and just couldn't really contend. Congratulations, Junior. Sam Mayer, it was an impressive final lap, holding him chaotic final couple laps. Sam Mayer got his first win. Did a heck of a job on that final lap.
Yeah, it was awesome to see Sam finally get that win today, and I'm equally surprised by the 16 car. I felt like that this would be a bad a bad deficit for them to overcome, not having practice, not having qualifying for this driver, but hey, it shows us how good AJ is and how confident he is to come here and show up and move through the field how he has. And I think it's opportunity for them to have status quo and continue their march toward a playoff position.
Yeah, and also AJ, when I talked to him, he said, hey, we haven't been good there anyway. He's like, what we've been doing hasn't worked, so let's try something different. He was not concerned about it because he didn't have much confidence coming here anyway, so let's do something different. I know they wanted to run better yesterday, but appreciate the commitment they made in fulfilling it.
Here comes William Byron looking to the inside. He's going to take the spot away from Kyle Busch. Marty.
Rick, the playoff driver that's in trouble right now is Daniel Suarez. Started 33rd today, pretty much gone nowhere. 29th right now to the car, just way too tight in the middle and way too free on exit. No lateral grip. And Travis Mack telling him to kind of, hey, search around, find what grip you can. Steve, only 16 laps left here in stage one. Suarez below the cut line coming in. What swing could Travis Mack take it from here in stage one, and when they do pit, to be able to get Suarez back up front and in contention?
Well, mission one is stay in front of the leader, because that's the leader right there. And the reason I say that, Marty, is the answer to your question changes. Right, if you go a lap down, you then can't take a big swing because you have to then pit and try to battle the cars one lap down for that free pass position. If you're the last car on the lead lap or nearly the last car on the lead lap, you could take a big swing, Marty. You could sit on pit road for an extra 20 or 30 seconds and maybe go under the hood, adjust front ride height, something big that's going to change the 99. Unfortunately, the one of Ross Chastain is only 22nd. So Trackhouse in general has not been their normal self this weekend. They definitely seem a bit off. But that's daunting when you hear, hey, leader, 5 cars back, 4 cars back. It's information that Suarez needs, but drivers, it can't feel good when you get that information.
Well, it feels terrible, but, we had a conversation a little bit ago about, I'm surprised it's taken this long to get to this far back. I mean, it shows you how competitive this field is. And Reddick, when he's getting there, he's just not going by them. These are not going to be easy passes. And with 13 laps to go, they're going to put up a fight.
It's Ryan Newman that's right in front of the 45, about to put him a lap down. Dylan.
Bubba Wallace continues the strong run for 2311 Racing. He's up to the 3rd spot and came on the radio a little bit ago, told Booty Barker, the crew chief, I'm just cruising right now. So they're pretty happy with that race car. Bubba told me earlier this morning, too, he said, we're normally good here with the Joe Gibbs Racing setup, but a lot of times we're kind of at the back of that mix of the Joe Gibbs cars or the Toyotas. And it's been really nice this weekend for us to be up in the front, up in the mix, and one of the leading Toyotas. So as they run 1, 2, 3 right now, the strong day continues for Bubba and Toyota in general as they tries to track down his car owner and his teammate in front of him.
Another car having a great run so far today is this 41 of Ryan Preece, sitting in 7th position. and closing right there on William Byron. He's 27th in points. It's been a tough year in an argument the last couple of weeks with a few different drivers, frustrated over how this year has went for this team. But with Harvick running 5th and Priest in 7th, this is a good day for SHR. So this 41 team, they're here in the first stage. Let's see if they can keep it together and put a whole race together.
So, Junior, you just referenced it, and last week was the second of 2 weeks that he has had issues with different drivers. This time it was Corey LaJoie. And here's Corey LaJoie. He's on the inside. He thought that the 48 was going to be looking inside, so he went the middle row, and then he drifted up. He caught the 41. Around the 41 goes, and then this happened after the race.
You piece of shit. That was bull. You know.
Got a little heated.
Yeah, that's just a guy who's tired of being run over. I mean, 2 weeks in a row back to back, he's been taken out late in the race, and he's worked hard for those positions, even though that was sort of toward the back of the field. It's just been a tough year for Priest, and you know, he came into an organization that was performing well, but they're struggling this year. And again, this is a great opportunity for them to run well. Maybe they could put the whole race together. Dylan.
He's channeled some of that frustration into a strong run so far. He told me this morning, said, we've got good pace on 10-lap runs, 20-lap runs, and 30-lap runs. It all felt good, so they were optimistic to start this day. And Ryan's a short tracker at heart and understands kind of how to conserve his equipment and make the tires last to the end of the runs and the end of the race. I think that's going to play dividends for him here this afternoon, and it helps when they've got a good race car underneath them, which they do right now.
Yeah, Priest still running up there in the top 10, and he's in the 7th spot right now, and he was actually closing in on William Byron. We saw William Byron go by Kyle Busch. Well, Kyle Busch has started to fall. He has plummeted. Remember, he started up on the front row, and now Kyle Busch is already down outside the top 10 in that 12th spot. Marty.
Well, Randall Burnett told me this morning, yeah, we qualified well, but I'm worried about our race pace. Showing up now with 6 to go in stage 1. Here's what Kyle Busch said on the radio.
These are the corners, the lower straighter I am off the 2. I get a raw. Trends loose first, loose in, loose through the middle, loose off at 1 and 2.
And this is the shortest stage of the day. They've fallen from 2nd now to 12th for Kyle Busch. So, Steve, what do you have in the book for wah off the corner?
Well, that's a new one for me. I actually find that with Richmond, your best bet is try to fix entry to the middle. Most of the exit issues don't get better unless you can position the car better through the middle of the corner, get steering wheel out of it. You know, there are setup characteristics that you always have on corner exit. Now, I don't know what that specific description would be. This battle right here continues. Tyler Reddick trying to lap Daniel Suarez now with just 3 laps to go in the stage.
Yeah, Suarez is going to put up a big fight right here. He's been doing everything he can. You see right there, Reddick.
Right here, Bubba, inside now, inside quarter.
Reddick gets a run on the inside of him, but Suarez is able to carry speed into 3.
At 51, so keep put this battle up. 2
and
more
stay alongside him here, and then, oh, big loose right there. So this time Reddick's got a little more of a run than he's had the previous laps.
Suarez has to make a decision. Does he keep battling, allow the 51 to close in? Because then if the 51 gets by him, he's not in the free pass. Currently, he's at least in the free pass position. Denny Hamlin and Bubba Wallace battle for 2nd on the bottom of your screen.
You got to keep battling here because you cannot see 2nd place behind you. So you recognize that. You know Reddick has no reason to push really hard right here. So you got to make him take this spot away. See, you cannot see 2nd place in the mirror. So you know, take advantage of that. Reddick doesn't want to get in a wreck early. Put him in a position where he's got to lift.
Great stage for 23-11 as Tyler Reddick's getting ready to come back to the checkered flag, and he's been stingy. For a driver who has never led a lap on a short track, he's about to lead his 70th lap today, and not another driver has been out front. Suarez is going to stay on that lead lap, and it is Tyler Reddick grabbing his 4th stage win this season. That is his most ever in a season. So Reddick gets the win of stage 1. Bubba Wallace, his teammate, at 23-11. And we heard Denny Hamlin say that these 3 cars are all set up the same. So they finished 1, 2, 3.
Big points for Bubba Wallace in that battle at the bubble.
I agree. 1 point back there in 10th for Gibbs. All of those are going to matter with this tight battle at the bubble.
Points a big thing. Again, as that bubble battle continues, who gets into the playoffs? Well, another opportunity in front. You're watching NASCAR Cup Series racing from Richmond, presented by Toyota. The new movie, Gran Turismo, based on a true story, only in theaters August 11th, and you can get your tickets now. They are on sale. Great crowd here at Richmond as stage one is complete. It was Tyler Reddick who was able to get to the green and white checkered first, and now onto pit road they come, Dylan.
Bubba Wallace had a great first stage, got to the second position after starting fifth, just said that a stall moment of front turn is what's slowing them down. So he's asking for more turn in the center for Goodyear Tires Sunoco fuel for the 23 days.
Fifth place, Kevin Harvick needs to turn a little bit better in the center, a little better drive off at the end of the run. The adjustment's already been made. Air out of the right front and left rear. Marty.
Denny Hamlin, middle of your screen, said I'm too loose everywhere, zero tight, and I'm fighting exit the most. The man who drives for him, Tyler Reddick, up front for stage one of the year, playoff point in the bank as well. He said, I'm really good. I just need to take care of it early in the run. The 45 team, nice stop. They hold serve here on pit road, Rick.
No position change out of the top five. Reddick stays up front. NBC Sports coverage of NASCAR on USA is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Save when you bundle auto, home, or motorcycle insurance. Visit progressive.com. Credit One Bank, credit card company. And by Toyota. Let's go places. Like the James River, which is running right through Richmond. Take a look at the race analysis here, Steve.
Well, so let's talk about the race kind of like that river right here. So stage 1, it's over. We're out here in stage 2. We got around 160 laps. Well, fuel says you got to come one time, right here in the middle. You stop in the middle of your road trip, you keep going. But the tires go so slow, I think there's a chance we're going to see 2 pit stops. So you can either run 75 on a set of tires and then 75 more, or you can run maybe just a little over 50 pit, 50 more pit, and a little over 50 again. The math would say pitting twice is better. The challenge, you use an extra set of tires, and at some moment, there's a good chance you're going to be 2 laps down, and that is never a comforting spot to be.
And so now the front row is made up with Tyler Reddick. He's on the inside. Bubba Wallace is on the outside as they come through the restart zone. And back in front of the packed grandstands, green flag. Bubba Wallace trying to stay on the outside of that 45 and pressure him. Limit the amount he can come up the racetrack and see if he can get by on the high side.
Michael McDowell back to 5th row, jumped up and made it 3 wide, still 3 wide, but he made a ton of positions doing that.
He did that on the very first start of the race as well to gain a lot of spots, finishing 11th in that first stage. He's taking gambles. His pit crew has taken gambles all year long to put him in spots to succeed, and he matches well with that aggression on the racetrack.
Bubba Wallace pinching down that 45, and Bubba Wallace is leading at Richmond.
Look who's in 3rd. Those Chase Elliott fans want to know, is a win in the books? Is it possible? Junior, you talked about it in the pre-race. This is without a doubt the most speed I believe the 9 has had since he's come back from injury.
Look at what Brad Keselowski is doing on the outside of Hamlin here as well, using that high line to get by people. BuildSubmarines.com giving us this perspective.
And one thing we're seeing right there, or we're listening to, is Brad Keselowski shifting. So
Through the door, keep him honest out
he
here.
went into high gear on the front straightaway, downshifted into turn 1. We know the shifting changes the balance of these cars. So if you were in clean air, running along, not shifting in that first stage, when we have a restart here on new tires, everybody's bunched up around you, and you're forced to push your car a little harder. Maybe that balance isn't what you thought it was. Maybe the performance of your car isn't doing what it needs to do when you induce the shifting into it. Also, you have to think too, this is a longer stage. To combat that point I made, you could say, hey, Denny Hamlin might be sitting there riding this out, trying to save with a one-stop strategy. We know they like to go long. This 11 team always goes longer than everybody else. And so maybe he's sitting there thinking, hey, go on and run hard. I'm here for one stop only. Y'all can push all you want, Marty.
And Junior, just to keep that in mind, Chris Gabehart a couple of years ago used that strategy you're talking about, running stage 2 on one stop to save an extra set for the end of the race. In that stage 3 a couple years ago, he spent 16 laps, down a lap, put tires on, came back through the field, and won the race. So you might be right on with that. The other thing with shifting, Steve, is that this should be also a shorter run for some. If you're going to two-stop this stage, it's only about 50 laps, as you just mentioned a moment ago, not 70 like you did in stage 1. So that's allow you a little more bandwidth, you think, behind the wheel to shift a little bit more and use the tires a little bit more too.
Well, that's where communication's so important. We talk about driver-crew chief relationship. Well, right here, you want to make sure that the driver and the crew chief are on the same page. Don't have the driver out there abusing the rear tires if you're going to run long. And if you're going to run short, don't be back there cruising, saving tires. So I agree with Junior in his assessment of the 11. It wouldn't shock me if he did something different. I think that's kind of his style, right? Patience and tire life seems to be his strength as he rolls to the outside of the 9.
Here comes the 11 as he works to the outside of the 9 of Chase Elliott. And it looks as though the preferred line right now as far as passing is that high line.
You know what's interesting about that is that many times in this racetrack, the bottom is the way to go for the first 5, 6, 7, 8 laps. But today, we just saw Bubba Wallace. He took the lead from the top. We saw, you know, right now, we see this battle right here, the 11 car, able to hang on the top early in the run. You would think, Junior, that would get better as the tires got laps on them, running them up high.
Interesting to see the 9 car fighting as hard as he is on the inside here, trying to keep this position. Then he jumps out there and gets the outside line, but Chase is not giving this away.
We saw Brad Keselowski also pass Hamlin and Elliott on the outside. He's up to 3rd, and Hamlin about to take 4th away from Elliott. Using that second groove, Hamlin clears the 9.
Bottom of the screens, all the guys just outside the top 20. The 5 of Larson is 20th, and that's everyone else behind him. Larson has struggled. I thought they were really fast in practice. Didn't qualify well, and the speed hasn't been there so far in the race. So he's up the racetrack now, getting challenged by Austin Dillon in that 3 car.
Junior, you were high on the 41 of Priest on the runway they were having. Unfortunately, I think he slid through his box. 15.8 seconds in the pit stall from 6th to 18th. Currently still stuck back at 16th, right, Junior? You said, hey, keep the track position you have. Unfortunately, a mistake out of the 41.
Issue with Noah Gragson in the 42. Take a look at the lockup here.
So we're 3 wide in front of him. Gets down into the corner and trying not to run into the back of the 19 car. That's, you know, that's all he's doing there. And then he's loose right here. Getting some contact with Corey LaJoie right there. Just hard racing, short track racing. I've seen a lot of it. I mean, you know, we're not able to catch everything going on out there. Truex has been banging doors with the 99 of Suarez. They were beating on each other hard off turn 4. A lot of contact here back in the pack. The racing back here in the back half of the field, more intense than what you see out front. These people are back here panicking, trying not to lose spots, because they know the further they fade to the rear, the more at risk of going a lap down and losing control of this race entirely goes.
The fight for position in the middle of the pack heating up. Bubba Wallace, though, out in front. Bubba Wallace still out in front. NASCAR Cup Series racing from Richmond, presented by Toyota. And fans, NASCAR and the premier partners want to thank you. Visit NASCAR.com/thankyou-fans to learn how you can win an exclusive diamond experience just for being a fan. What you're doing right now is we see a lot of fans here at Richmond enjoying Watching Bubba Wallace out in front. He's got a 1.6 second lead right now over Tyler Reddick. Then it's Brad Keselowski, Denny Hamlin, and Chase Elliott all in the top 5.
What a run so far by 23-11 and the 23 of Bubba Wallace. I just, I didn't have him on my radar after practice. Practice was a little broken up. It was hard to kind of handicap, but I didn't see this type of pace. But great job by Moody Barker and the driver behind the wheel. They've put together a great start here.
Bubba Wallace, his normal spotter is Freddie Kraft. Today he's got Trey Poole up there because yesterday Freddie Kraft's father, Tommy, passed away, and Freddie staying home for the weekend to be with the family. Bubba Wallace actually put Tommy's name over the window on the driver's side there, so it says Tommy Kraft on the driver's side door, honoring Freddie Kraft, his spotter's late father. Out in front, again, 1.4 seconds the lead for the 23 of Bubba Wallace over Tyler Reddick. Let's get a few updates, and we'll go back to the 7th place, number 10 of Eric Almirola, Dave.
Rick, I love it when a crew chief keeps a promise. Drew Blickensderfer, crew chief for Eric Almirola, told me this morning that he would get stage points. Now, might not be a big deal, except that Eric was starting 24th. He got all the way up to 8th, got 3 stage points, and that car is good. Don't forget what they did in the spring in April. He went from 32nd to 13th on the day, Marty. Dylan, sorry.
And Dave, another big mover is Chris Buescher, up 16 spots, just broke into the top 10. They felt like they got a bad draw in qualifying. We're in the slower of the 2 groups in practice and such, so felt like they were much better than what their qualifying time showed. Biggest thing they wanted to do early was just move forward so they didn't get laps starting that far back. They did that and then some. Only complaint for Buescher, just the car built a little bit free on the entry at the end of stage 1, Marty.
Dylan, good call out by Dale Jr. a moment ago to point out Kyle Larson, who won the Richmond race just a few months ago here in the spring, running 21st right now. When I talked to Cliff Daniels this morning about the car and how practice went, he said, I had to slow Kyle down. He said, the reason we won the spring race, we had such a good short run car. So we tried to build some medium run speed in the car. But Kyle was driving through that, just trying too hard every lap in practice. So, Steve, I'm curious, did you ever have to tell Dell Jr. or Jeff Gordon, hey, slow down in practice, take care of the car? We heard Kyle Busch mention it earlier today as well.
Yeah, I don't think you ever had to say that to me. I remember we'd come here for practice, Steve, and we'd have really good speed, and then you start the race pretty confident and happy with your car, but it just doesn't always translate. A lot of times speed in practice doesn't show up in the race, and sometimes speed you haven't had all weekend shows up in the race, right? You're awful in practice, and somehow the car just is a rocket in the race, and it's hard to describe. And we also talk about, this racetrack being so different. I wanted to ask you about that, Steve. This track being so different from the first race of the year and the second race. How does a track like this change so much? We would come here with the perfect setup that ran so well earlier in the year, and it would not work again in the second race in the second half of the year.
I've always thought this is one of the toughest tracks to practice at, and I could never figure out why. I used to think it was because it was day practice for a night race, but I think that was a good excuse, but I'm not sure that was real, because now that it's day, I agree with what Junior was saying, that it doesn't really translate, and race 1 doesn't even sometimes translate to race 2. So, I wish I had an answer. The surface is pretty old. You would think it would be pretty consistent, but man, I've thrown away a lot of good notes leaving here after some bad decisions in a race.
Yeah, this is one of the most difficult racetracks, and a little bit of track temp makes a big difference. Track temp 131 degrees, that's pretty hot. One driver that has not had a problem with the racetrack today, Joey Logano in that 22 car, started 23rd, and he has driven himself up right now into 9th place. I thought in practice this car looked good. He had good long run speed. He did not qualify well at all. He went out in the second group. The second group was faster and still didn't lay a lap time down. But in the race, Dylan, he's got really good speed.
They do, and this actually goes back to something that they tried a few weeks ago at Loudon. There's some similar setup philosophies. What they tried there, he and crew chief Paul Wolf worked. They liked it very much, so they took that same philosophy, tried to apply it and more here this weekend. By the way, something for you guys to ponder. Joey said, I can't be tighter overall, but I need to be tighter off turn 4. So how do you slice that? How do you make that driver happy?
Well, hey, that's Richmond. right? I mean, it really is. Like, it's 1 and 2 are so radically different from each other. Entering turn 1, it's a big, long sweeper, and then you get a really tight exit off of turn 2. And 3 is opposite. It's a tight entry into 3 and a sweeper on exit. So the car is not going to drive the same in one end or the other. You as a driver have to pick, hey, this is where in the race today, right now, this is where I'm the weakest. This is what I need you to work on.
And we just showed the battle between Ryan Preece and Kyle Busch right there outside the top 10. Preece has drove back up to 11th spot. I was wondering when he made that mistake on pit road, they lost all that track position. Was that the end of the day for this 41 team? But they are racing their way back into a top 10.
And we're about to find out which strategy some of these teams will be on. Will it be a two-stop strategy in this stage? Well, right now, Bubba up front. Written and directed by Christopher Nolan, Oppenheimer is an IMAX shot epic thriller that thrusts audiences into the pulse-pounding paradox of the enigmatic man who must risk destroying the world in order to save it. See it only in theaters now. And we've talked about the temperature and the heat here at Richmond. How about right now from the Toyota onboard? 134 degrees inside the car for Denny Hamlin.
I think that's where it starts getting pretty uncomfortable. About 120 to 125 is kind of the summer average inside the car. The worst we've seen that I can remember is Chicago, 150 degrees inside the cars several years ago. But anywhere around over 130 is nasty, nasty temperatures. At a short track where you're working hard. Not a lot of air moving around in the car. Speeds are down. And so it's going to be pretty uncomfortable.
Looking back from the Coke Zero Sugar on board of Chase Elliott. And Harvick right there in that 7th position behind Elliott, who's 6th.
Yeah, Elliott's been in front of Harvick for several laps here, looking just about like this. The car, though, that has passed both of them, the 10 of Almirola moving into 5th, Dylan.
So here's Ryan Preece, the first of the green flag stops and first of the front runners. This may cause some other drivers to bail and pit a little bit early. Was hearing about 10 or 15 laps away, but Preece the first to pit and get new tires.
And I want to update. I mentioned that 41 was long in his box. I couldn't figure out why with a little bit more digging, and I think there was some contact from William Byron. We saw Ryan Preece first stall on pit road. Byron had a slow stop as well, lost 8 or 9 spots. I don't think he meant to, but when Preece kind of checked up to turn left, I think Byron gave him a little shot. So it wasn't poor Ryan Preece sliding long. It was more of a shove long in the pit stall in the end. Both the 41 and the 24 lost spots on the first pit cycle, and you get ready to see why new tires matter so much, as Ryan Preece is going to look like a rocket ship here.
Dylan.
Here's some more stops. Brett Kozlowski and said he was just a little bit too loose, needed some more rear grip, so they'll change 4 tires as well, Marty.
Tyler Reddick, when you have one of the better cars on the racetrack, you play it safe. That's what they're doing here. 2 stops in this stage for Billy Scott and Tyler Reddick. To the car, really good, just a little bit too free on exit, Dylan.
Bubba Wallace is in, the race leader. Rudy Barker, the crew chief, said your management of that stage 1 run was ideal. Passed when you could, but didn't force it. It's been more of the same for Wallace. He's down and away.
Good run continues for Eric Almirola. 4 Goodyear tires, Sunoco fuel for him. Moved all the way up into the top 10, Marty.
Kyle Larson radioed to Cliff Daniels and said, "My so tight in the center, it's just really killing the exits of the corner." Daniels said, "Yep, we see it. We're going to free you up a bunch on this stop."
Steve, all of these are 2-stop strategies for this stage?
Yeah, everybody pitting right now with 106 laps will probably, they don't have to for fuel, but the plan would be to pit again for another set of tires. Dave.
24, William Byron comes in. There was a slow stop on the left rear. That's what got him back in with Ryan Preece. And this time during the run, he said, "Keep freeing me up." This car is still tight, Marty.
Kyle Busch said, "I've got nothing on exit at all." And then on Channel 2, Randall Burnett told Richard Childress, "I think we're just riding on the left rear stop." That's what's going on with the 8 car of Kyle Busch, who's lost a lot of spots today after starting second.
You see the 11 of Denny Hamlin. That is the race leader. And you don't see this very often. Race leader getting passed left and right. That is back to what Junior kind of predicted. The 11 looks like he's going to run long. Dale, we'll see if he panics, like if he lost too much speed. But he's going to have to run about 18 or 20 more laps for this strategy to work out. And another driver with a big penalty in green flag stops. The 10 of Eric Almirola had a commitment line violation. Disappointing. He had such a good car this weekend, a track he normally runs very well at.
Oh, and he was running up in the top 5, well into the top 5 when that happened.
Here's Ross Chastain getting his service. 4-tire stop and back out onto the track for him. And when you said commitment line violation, Steve, just want to explain, all 4 tires have to be on the inside of that orange box when they enter pit road?
Yeah, there's an orange box down here on the flat. We're going to see the 10 serving his penalty, doing a nice job below at that time. And what happens is it kind of slides up, and you can easily touch that box, which is a penalty. And now we have the 11 of Denny Hamlin on pit road as well, with the 4 of Harvick. Dave?
Kevin Harvick in the 4 car. He said, "My car is loose late on the exit of the corner." So he'll get 4 Goodyear tires, Sunoco fuel. Try to make that better, Marty.
Dave, I will say, Junior was right. That's what Chris Gabehart wanted to do in stage 2. Just do it in 1 stop. You could see the lap time of everyone on new tires. So he brought Denny Hamlin down pit road. They'll now do it here in 2 stops in stage 2 as Kevin Harvick leaves his stall. Hamlin saying the car just got way too tight on the short run, trying to free that up in the center.
So, Rick, you talked about the penalty for the 10. So we see right here the orange box in the center of your screen. You cannot touch it. 4 tires below, clearly the right front and right rear over it. If you touch that box and come to pit road, that's a violation. Now, a little bit of an ad for, and you see right here, Blaney and the 12 having to back up. The 10 in front of him on pit lane. That's always, oh, I'm sorry, the 2. I thought it was the 12. It was the 2. There's Blaney. Man, those team.
And he had no drive off, by the way, at the 12 of Blaney. So, yes, the 12 is in and out.
Thank you, Dave. And what I was going to say about Denny Hamlin is, you know, math would say that he's actually one of the few cars that split it up dead on a third. He ran 50 laps, and now he has exactly 101 to run, Marty.
Well, you see Christopher Bell coming down pit road here, 60 laps into stage 2. Going to make it a 2-stopper as well. Adam Stevens making that call. I think the day not going how they expected as well. Always good here at Richmond. Just been struggling with the handling all afternoon long. And you can see on the left-hand side of your screen, there are a few that are going to try this on 1 stop. We'll see if it works out for them.
Yeah, basically we're looking at just about 5 cars.
We have to do a pass-through.
Uh-oh. 20 car. Too fast entering, so here he comes right back down pit road.
Been sitting around 18th spot, not having a great day. It's just going to get a little bit worse now. But we were looking at that rundown, that order on the left of the screen, and it looks like, you know, roughly 5 or so cars are going to stick on this 1-stop strategy, at least for the time being. Bubba Wallace in second.
Yeah, he already has been to pit road. He was on pit road on lap 123.
Yep.
McDowell at 74, Truex at 74, Suarez at lap 74.
But let's remember, Truex had no track position. He had that issue early, and he kind of got sent to the back, and he's just not been as good as we had thought. I don't know if there's damage from that contact in the left rear early, if the car's just not like they want. I think this is James Small thinking, you know, we're not going to drive back to the front, Junior, right? We're going to have to get lucky. A yellow, and he's in great shape, right? But
yes,
that's what he's going to need.
But with McDowell, he's in that battle for a playoff spot. And for that team to take this gamble and be one of the very few that is actually willing to do it is not concerning for me, because this is exactly what's put them in this position to have a playoff shot. They are gamblers on top of that pit box.
They have been gambling. They were 17 points above the cutoff line, and right now McDowell is in front of the field here at Richmond. Hey, race fans, when in Las Vegas, stay where the racers stay, at the South Point Hotel, Casino, and Spa. Your ultimate pit stop on the Las Vegas Strip. South Point, everything you want, all under one roof. A little bit warmer day, but that has not stopped the fans from enjoying what they're seeing on the track right now. Bubba Wallace out front. He's got a 1.4 second lead over Tyler Reddick, his teammate at 23:11. Then it's Brad Keselowski, Michael McDowell, and Martin Truex Jr. all in the top 5. Buescher, Hamlin, Elliott, Priest, and Busch all in the top 10. Let's get a few more updates, and we'll start with Dave.
Rick, the pit cycle is now almost complete. Kevin Harvick did not have a good stop.
Definitely wouldn't have been a complete week without a bad stop. And we got it out of the way, so we got a long, long way to go here. Nothing out back.
Encouragement from his spotter, Tim Fedewa. Long way to go, but that was slow, Marty. That put him back further in the line.
Well, Dave, for Daniel Suarez fighting for a playoff spot, they have struggled today. In fact, before this strategy move here to do stage 2 in one stop, they hadn't really run higher than 25th. So there were not a lot of cards in the deck for Travis Mack to play here, Steve. What do you think about this call? Fighting for that playoff spot, as we mentioned, had to do something different right now in 16th, but 20 extra laps on a set of tires here at Richmond, that's a lot to ask.
Well, the big concern for the 99 is, yes, he has to run 20 laps, but he's losing so much time, currently 17 seconds behind Bubba Wallace, that when he does come to pit road, he's going to be a long 2 laps down, almost 3. So, you know, while a caution here could make his race, a caution on the flip side of this strategy could end the race for the 99.
Steve, should he be the first one on pit road of the 3 that are trying this strategy so that he can get out there and start putting faster laps together?
Well, the struggle is at some point you have to pay the piper. I mean, there's 88 laps or 86 laps to go in this stage. So if you come now, And all you're really doing is just delaying the pain and the suffering of being behind on tires. And what happens for these guys out here is that it's not just that you're slower because of tires, it's this. 90% of the field has put on fresh tires, so you're out of the groove for the majority of your lap. You never get a nice cruise down in around the yellow line. As we see McDowell, to your point, first guy that says enough is enough comes to pit road for his 4 tires, Dave.
And Steve, I asked him about being that guy that was still out on tires old when everyone had new tires. He said, yeah, you try to minimize the loss, but you are so in the way. It is really difficult. But not much complaint about the balance of the race car. Maybe just a small air pressure adjustment. He was told by his spotter, just wait, we'll be in a minute. You'll get your chance to get them all back.
Martin Truex Jr. on this strategy, as is Daniel Suarez. Truex Jr. is running 10th, and Suarez running 19th.
And we heard that radio by Harvick. I'll be honest, you know, the stop was a little slower. It was 1 second off. But some of it is just what we're talking about, being on different strategies. The 11 of Denny Hamlin and the 4 of Kevin Harvick ran a little bit longer. They ran the true math of a third, 50 laps. So if you look on the left side of your board, Harvick's up to 4th now. Or excuse me, Hamlin's up to 4th. He's using those fresher tires. Dylan.
Well, Martin Truex Jr. has bailed on this one-stop strategy, if you will, as well. He said, tell me what we are doing, because I'm really, really bad right now. So that was the decision. Was starting to backslide. They brought Truex in for tires.
Now Truex is going to feel like a He-Man. So back to what I was saying, the 4 of Kevin Harvick, yes, he was right. It was a little bit slower. But, you know, fresher tires, just by a little bit, is going to make a difference as he starts to move through the field. You know, we look at Buescher and Elliott and Priest, cars ahead of him in the running order. They have 8-lap older tires. And here at Richmond, 8 laps is a lot.
Gibbs just in front of Harvick right now. We see the 2 on screen. And those 2 on the exact same strategy came. Both of them came on lap 128. Logano as well, just in front of them on that same strategy.
So one thing that makes this whole strategy work is the shape of pit road. You enter in the middle of 3 and 4. You exit in the middle of 1 and 2. So you actually don't lose as much time as you do other racetracks, because you complete half a lap on pit road. So now here's Truex. Off pit road, brand new tires. Now he has to try to make as much time as he can, yet stay patient to think you're going to run nearly 80 laps on this set of tires. So you're going to see in front of him the 20 of Bell. Remember, he pitted earlier and had a speeding problem. And this is what he's hoping everybody does. Hey, man, I'm going to get out of the way, give you the bottom, and get back in line. It's when he hits a clump of cars that's an issue. And if you look ahead, there are a clump of cars. It's going to be all how traffic works for the 19 of Truex. Currently, only 1 lap down. He should be close to unlapping himself, even though he's a half a lap behind, as you see in the top right. I think he should be pretty close to catching the 23 before the 23 has to pit.
And then right in front of him is McDowell on the same strategy. And what's important also is that these drivers don't cause a caution that they do not need. This totally upsets all of that strategy if they run into the back of somebody on the old tires and get them turned around, especially if they haven't yet to get that lap back. But you got to be patient. You got to be smart. You want these green flags to continue as the rest of the field will start to cycle back to pit road.
That's a great point, juniors. You see right there, nearly a second faster than the leader, right? So I don't want to bore you with it, but Junior, I'm going to let you know, hey, man, we really don't need a caution, right? We need this to run green. As a race car driver, you know what that means. See, right here, he's going to get a 2-for-1 on the front stretch.
Well, and honestly, it's one of the most fun times you'll ever have as a driver. When you have new tires on and everybody else had old tires on, you're rolling. Marty, 99 on pit road.
Yeah, finally, Travis Mack brings Daniel Suarez to pit road. About 2 laps ago, he said, I would like to go 5 more. He said, I'm not sure we can make that. I'm trying to make my tires last. So they actually go longer than everyone else, Steve. And the reason Travis Mack, it bears reiterating, is doing this will buy them an extra set for stage 3 for later in the race. Now the question is, how far behind does Daniel Suarez come out?
Well, because he's currently at least 2 laps down. We'll have to wait and see when it cycles. And I like the idea of an extra set, but man, you got to be on the lead lap to use them.
Look at this battle right here for second place, and right in front of the 45 is the leader, Bubba Wallace. So this is a battle for first, second, and third. The 6 of Keselowski, a little bit quicker, but just having to take that outside line is not able to make it work. Another thing that I just saw, we'll see if it happens again on the front straightaway, the 45 car running a little lower. Look how he's off of the wall. Trying to save those tires. He's really careful on throttling the car up. not driving the car and sliding the back to the fence. Very careful, and that's going to pay off on the long run. He's closing in on Bubba Wallace, and the 6th car is right there behind both of them. It's a great little battle.
Always great battles here at this racetrack. It's one of the oldest short tracks on the circuit. We've seen some of the legends race here, as well as IndyCar. 24 Hall of Famers in NASCAR have found victory lane here at Richmond Raceway, who will add their name to that list. Things are heating up for second right now between Keselowski and Reddick in the NASCAR Cup Series racing from Richmond, presented by Toyota. That's how close it is. A little further back, the 24 of William Byron. You know, Liberty University is more than William Byron's sponsor. It's his school. Offering more than 700 flexible, affordable degree programs online and on campus. You can get your future on track today. Visit liberty.edu/24. Wallace, Keselowski, Reddick now 1, 2, 3 as Brad Keselowski has moved into that second spot.
Have to be able to see if he can drive that car and run down Wallace for the lead. Right now, 3/4 of a second back.
He's faster. He right there, he ran about 1/10 of a second faster than Bubba Wallace. Brad Keselowski they've been consistent this year. They're safely in the points to make the playoffs, had really good speed. You see Suarez on newer tires flying by on the outside.
And that's going to cost Brad a little speed. He's got to give a lane to the 99. He can't finish the exit of the corner, and you see a couple tenths there. And he's going to lose a little time right now in dirty air till this 99 gets a little further away. So this leads now back to probably around a second.
Tight action a little bit ago. Chase Elliott, Ty Gibbs banging into each other off turn 4.
That's pretty hard stuff.
Yeah, I think Ty believed Chase would be down on the yellow line. Chase up a little bit. Ty turns down, contact. Chase is like, come on, man. It's good short track racing. That's what Richmond gives us.
And the two are separated now by just a little bit. Currently running 9th for Ty Gibbs and 11th for Chase Elliott. Dylan.
Well, Chase Elliott was starting to backslide a little bit before that contact. Here was the conversation on the radio about what the 9 car's doing.
I need to turn better, but every time I lean on the right rear to turn better, I just get looser. So I don't know. I'm really confused on what to tell you. I don't want to screw us up worse. Copy that.
Confusing is the word. It's hard to figure out just what to do and how to make your car go faster, isn't it, Dave?
Ty Gibbs continuing his good work at Richmond Raceway today. Remember how it's gone for him toward the playoffs here. Decent shape before Atlanta. He'd finished 9th at the Chicago Street Race, but then 34th at Atlanta, 27th at New Hampshire. Finally got back on the rebound, a 5th place finish at Pocono last week. Crew Chief Chris Gale told me, we even have better tracks coming up than this. If we can just maintain today, we'll be happy with that moving on to Michigan.
Saw Ty Gibbs and his numbers currently running in that 9th position.
Talked to him today before the race. He said he's trying to kind of pattern himself after Truex in terms of his attitude about, these are long seasons, tough grinds, and he's in the middle of the battle trying to gain the points he needs to get into the playoffs, and he's trying not to get too high, trying not to get too low depending on the performance of the car. Really leaning on teammate Truex in terms of trying to manage his energy all the time.
That's a 20-year-old listening to a 43-year-old who has a lot of experience in this sport and at this level. I want to take a look at the Toyota driver update. As you see, Bubba Wallace, he's up front, and this is the most laps Bubba has led in a race in his career. So already 78 laps led, and that's tying Tyler Reddick for the most laps led, but Bubba Wallace going to continue with that number.
Right behind the 23 is the 19 and the 34 coming to unlap themselves, Dave.
Here we go, 59 to go in the stage. Cars will start to pit at this point. Twice on pit road during this one, Dylan.
Alex Bowman also set to come down pit road, and Alex has been quiet on the radio. They made an adjustment on this stop just to try to get the 48 a little bit better.
Steve, is this early? I mean, almost 60 laps to go.
Yeah, but I mean, this is 50 on this set of tires. The first set is the one they ran short. They came 5 or 6 laps short of what I would consider the first pit stop. So now you're kind of committed to that. Everybody asks, what's working, 1 or 2 laps? Well, the 19 and the 34 unlapping themselves was a little bit of a mark for those cars. And here's the 6 of Keselowski, Dylan.
Been a great day for Brad Keselowski. Matt McCall said we're slowly chipping away at our progress all year. It's hard to see sometimes, but I think we're seeing all the hard work pay off today for Keselowski. Here's Bubba Wallace in as well, the race leader. He just said that he's been getting loose and it keeps getting worse, starting to get snappy as well. They'll make an adjustment, 4 tires and fuel for the race leader.
Oh no, slow right side. The jack comes down. Tire changer's looking at him, jacking this thing up. This is going to be at least a second, maybe 2 seconds slower than a normal pit stop for Bubba Wallace.
Now you have to wonder how frustrated Bubba Wallace is, and does he drive frustrated, knowing that was a longer stop?
Luckily that happened under green. I mean, if it happens under yellow, we lose dozens of spots. Under green, he's just used a lot of time on the racetrack, probably just a few spots.
Well, you see how much it is. Keselowski goes flying by. So that stop cost him a full straightaway. I mean, it's a ton of track position.
Kevin Harvick back on pit road. Let's see if they can clean that up a little bit. Remember, a little bit of a slow stop the first time. Balance not horrible for the 4 car. Kevin will bring it in, Marty.
Chase Elliott leaving his stall in an interesting conversation for Tyler Reddick on his radio a moment ago. They had kind of talked about the strategy of everybody else in the field, Dave, and then Billy Scott told Tyler Reddick, we're going to do something different than everybody else, so slightly longer than everyone. Reddick said on the radio, I feel like it could be a little bit tighter, but I'm afraid for you to adjust it very much. One of his best short track races ever. Tyler Reddick comes in with the lead. We'll see where he cycles out. Kyle Larson still struggling with the handling on his race car, but they're gaining on it every run. So a little bit better this run for Kyle Larson, but still a little bit too tight, which in the center, which affects their exit as well.
Leader Denny Hamlin in the 11. Chris Capehart sticking to the plan. He has 3 more laps to be at 50 to go in the stage. Now 2 more laps. So if he does what he did in the first run, it's going to be 1 or 2 laps, and the 11 will come to pit road. That clear track in front is enough reason to run a lap more, as long as you don't get stuck in traffic, although quickly the 45 and the 23 are catching him. You mentioned that slow stop. You see the 45 got the leapfrog to 23. Let's take a look at what happens. He gets in, Bubba done a nice job right on the side. Driver's done his job. Jack goes up, Jack down right away. Obviously, the handle wasn't tight. Luckily, it could have been worse, right? You could have had tires get away. It wasn't perfect, but it definitely could have been worse, Dylan.
Joey Logano started 23rd. He's on the move. Just said he needs more rear security. Every other change they've made so far has been better. Logano's his service completed, Marty.
Yeah, that seemed like a bit of a long stop for Joey Logano. Denny Hamlin trailing him coming into his pit stall. He said, I feel like, you know, the car has the same thing as all day long. Too tight in the center, and the longer we run, that's what I struggle with. He said, I struggle to point the car correctly, especially coming off turn 2, and I lose all that momentum on the backstretch. You saw that wedge adjustment trying to make that car a little bit freer for Denny Hamlin. His teammate Christopher Bell on pit road as well. His car a little bit too tight in the center, also trying to regain all that track position after qualifying poorly yesterday here at Richmond.
Bubba Wallace's stop, we mentioned it was slower. It was a little over 15 seconds. These guys are making pit stops in 10 to 9 seconds.
Yeah, so now, I'm sorry, Junior.
Go ahead. So right here is the battle for the lead. This is all, the cycle is now complete. If, you know, Truex and those guys are on old tires, he's going to fall back through the field here, Steve. This is a pass for the lead. Truex does not plan, we believe, to come to pit road. I believe this strategy is going to be difficult to pan out for Truex, but McDowell, he's in real trouble, losing a lot of time every single lap to Keselowski and the rest of the field. I don't know, with 48 laps to go, whether they can actually stay on the lead lap.
Well, the 19 was 26, to your point. Right now, they've lapped all the way up to 22nd, so I struggled to see Truex staying on the lead lap, even though he might net gain a position or two.
NASCAR Fan Rewards is free to join. Earn points by doing what you're doing right now, watching racing, answering trivia, playing fantasy, buying race tickets, and more. You can save your points, trade them in for free tickets, autographed merchandise. All you have to do, visit NASCAR.com/fan rewards. Out in front is Brad Keselowski. He has about a 4-second lead over Tyler Reddick. Let's go through the field, brought to you by eBay. We'll start with Dylan.
And it's been a solid weekend for RFK Racing and for Brad Keselowski. Started 13th, said that they missed the balance a little bit in qualifying, but knew what they missed and hoped that they were able to correct it with some overnight changes. Think they have so far. Brad has been very, very happy with the race car, just a few small changes, and so far he's looking good out front, Marty.
Dylan, when I talked to Tyler Reddick's crew chief Billy Scott this morning, he said, honestly, I feel like we have the speed to be a championship team. We have to execute. We mentioned that earlier, build that momentum going into the playoffs. So far today, a terrific execution day for the race team. He's led 80 laps, sitting in second right now. Dylan.
Great execution for the 17, Chris Buescher as well. Started 26. They run third. They're no stranger to driving through the field here at Richmond in this race last year. Started 18th, ended up where they run right now in the third spot. They played their strategy exactly as they needed to, got track position early, and right now they're just trying to hang on to it. Right behind him is Bubba Wallace, who had that slow pit stop, but he came on the radio just moments afterwards and said, "We're fine, let me work, it'll come back to us." So that's a big statement from Bubba Wallace. He's got a good head on his shoulders today, feels good about his race car. And behind him, Martin Truex Jr. just trying to make something out of this day. It has not been the smoothest of days here at Richmond. The summer race for them has been a struggle the last couple of years. They're on a different strategy than those cars in front of them, just trying to figure something out and make it work for the 19, Marty.
After the win at Pocono last week, which was win number 50 for Denny Hamlin, trying to get another hometown win here at Richmond, although the hometown fans booed him earlier when he was introduced after what happened last week with Kyle Larson, said the car fired off much better on this run. And it's interesting, when you're on board with him, temperatures of 135 degrees in the car. Imagine working in that. How about Kyle Busch? The rebound today, started second, fell out of the top 10 almost immediately, but Randall Burnett has not given up, has made the car much better with a race team who knows they need to get their short track package much better if they want to have a shot at Phoenix for a title. Looks like they've done that today, Dylan.
Solid day for Ryan Preece. He runs in the 8th spot, carrying the flag for the Stewart-Haas Racing Organization today. Remember what he told us earlier, we're good on 10 lap, 20 lap, and 30 lap and longer. I feel like our pace is really, really good through the stint, through the entire length of a run, and he's backed up his words. They've been really happy with their long run pace, and as it gets further, you may see Preece start to move forward and pick off some more cars, Dave.
Ty Gibbs of the 54 was concerned today about his lack of experience at this very difficult track as a rookie, but he's been doing his job well. He's on the 2-stop strategy during this stage. Behind him, Michael McDowell is not. They're on the 1-stop strategy, and he has been bleeding positions here on track. Just hoping to maintain it here. They will be up a set of tires, guys. I don't know if that'll play up later, but that's really the only advantage here.
Well, that's a great update, Dave, on McDowell, and you are right. Truex has found some speed and trying to make this work. I was worried about losing perhaps 2 laps, anything but. He's a half a second or 3/4 of a second faster than McDowell. So what Dave just reported is exactly right. Truex, major improvements. This strategy could work for him. He may lose a lap, but he already lost a lot of track position. McDowell, though, Jr. is bleeding points and bleeding positions quickly.
Martin Truex Jr., 6-time short track winner, 3 times right here, but it's Keselowski who's up front. Building the next generation of U.S. Navy submarines means stable, sustaining jobs across the country. If you want to work with purpose, we're looking for you. Visit buildsubmarines.com for career and training opportunities. You know, RFK Racing, their efforts are helping support the mission to recruit, hire, train, develop, and retain that vital workforce that will build the Navy's next generation of submarines, as we see the 11 going by the 23. So Denny Hamlin up to the 4th spot. Busher Reddick in front of him. How far do you think he can go before the end of stage 2?
I think Hamlin's going to get all the way to 2nd at the current pace. There's 7 or 8 laps, fresher tires on Busher and Reddick. Remember, when we talk about, splitting this stage up, Gabehart, very disciplined. He's going to run an even amount on every set of tires, and I think that's showing up right here in the pace of this 11. Now, unfortunately for him, you know what beats good strategy? A really fast car, and that's what Brad Keselowski has right now. We can talk a lot about strategy, but, I mean, he's got a 6-second lead over Reddick. Brad Keselowski, super impressive. Marty, what are you hearing about that 11 car?
Yeah, to your point, very disciplined race called so far by Chris Gabehart. So going with the 2 stops and sticking to his plan. Denny Hamlin getting the work done inside the car as well, even though it is warm. He did radio to Gabehart a moment ago, so the car fired off much better. And I think that's what we're seeing as much as anything, Steve. I think this 11 car feels like they can certainly keep up and compete with a 6 car. They haven't had the handling right all day long until maybe right now. We'll see how far he can get on this run.
Well, I think it's the same for his teammate of Truex. I mentioned that he had found some pace. Well, Truex has only fallen back to 8th. And I say only because he has 25 lap older tires, and he's only a couple tenths of a second off of these guys. So we're going to see if Hamlin and Truex can make it. Remember, 2nd stage, we've covered a lot, but this is really just a dress rehearsal, Rick. That final stage is 170 laps. We're going to have to do this all over again.
Well, and you've talked a lot about strategy, Steve. How often and ever have you seen a Richmond race go this long without a caution that wasn't for a stage? Like last fall, or excuse me, in the spring, this last race, there were 8 cautions. There's only been 1 caution right now, and that's because the stage ended, stage 1.
Well, I think the spring's actually the anomaly. Green flag runs here at Richmond have become very, very, very consistent. We've seen a lot of them in stage 2 and stage 3, and that's why you're seeing these strategy calls, because there is risk of pitting and going laps down and all that, Marty, but these crew chiefs just don't see the risk. They only see the reward of those fresh tires.
So, Steve, it's almost like you've been on a pit box before, because just after you said that, Chris Gabehart radioed to Denny Hamlin, said, hey, you can't get there, meaning the lead. Keselowski up there by 6-some seconds, but you can get to 2nd. Go get it. So they think they can get him all the way up to 2nd here by the end of stage 2 with 20 to go, Dave.
And the teammates, obviously, of Ty Gibbs, Denny Hamlin, and Martin Truex Jr. are doing really well today. The rookie is trying to work on his craft, but he can't do the same things they're doing.
The initial throttle that they're doing that I'm trying to do, I just spin the tires there. Yeah, initial throttle there because I'm just spinning them. I physically feel the tires spinning right here. I just spin them.
Initial throttle, he spins the tires. He can't get back to the gas like they can.
Yeah, that's one thing, Junior, as a driver, you get this information from the team. Hey, your teammates are doing this with their throttle. And you're like, okay, that's great, but I can't do that. And so the key to that is, all right, the team's got to listen. I'm trying to do it. I know you're giving me the date. I know you're giving it to me, but the car will not do it. I need you to make an adjustment.
So Ty Gibbs fighting his car. Brad Keselowski doesn't have to worry about it. He's out front with 18 to go in this stage. You're watching the Cookout 400 on USA, and yeah, Brad Keselowski, he is up front, but there's a lot of cars that are going by him right now. A little bit fresher tires, but look at the cars in front of Brad Keselowski, race leader.
All these cars are trying to stay on the lead lap. You got McDowell right there fading back quickly.
Be smart here. We guys are all going to race it super hard. 2 outside, 5's in the middle still.
TJ Majors, who's back on the spotting tower for this 6-car Brad Keselowski. TJ's been gone a few weeks with an illness. He's back again, helping guide his driver through this lap traffic.
And McDowell in that 34 car, he's fighting hard. Remember, he's on a different strategy, trying to stay in the lead lap, but he cannot do it.
Yeah, Larson the same way. I mean, Larson is a situation here. He won the race in the spring, and now he's not on the lead lap.
Yeah, William Byron very close to coming a lap down. Blaney got by to get back in the lead lap. Blaney's got a few less laps on his tires than Keselowski. So you see Blaney in the 12 car. Now Keselowski getting underneath this 24 car.
And Byron's going to try to race him hard, make it difficult for that pass to happen, but I don't believe he can do it. Right there in the middle of the corner, Brad rolls forward, being able to clear this 24 off the corner.
I bet that 6-car up front, a little Mark Martin vibe going on. You know, Mark Martin made this 6-car famous. Over 30 wins driving that thing. He was the man. He was so good. A Hall of Famer. It's great to see that car back up front.
This is for second. Tyler Reddick has it in the 45, but Buescher in the 17, putting a lot of pressure on him for that position.
Yeah, Buescher has came from his 26th starting position and slowly grinding through the field, showing a similar pace to his teammate Brad Keselowski. If they end up finishing right here, they are going, this is an incredible feat. What this team has overcome over the last 5 years, if not more. They were running at the back of the field every single week. And Brad Keselowski becomes a part of this program, and he's turned it around. He's putting the right people in the right places. There's a lot of credit to go around to everyone working at RFK. It's incredible, though, what they've been able to do. I don't think we can celebrate that enough. It's so hard to run good in these races, and they've turned this entire organization around into a potential win today.
It's a different mindset there as we see Chris Buescher still putting that pressure on Reddick.
Well, so you see this battle at the bottom and the battle at the top. We see Brad Keselowski. I actually think the drive of the day at the moment, if you can believe it, is the 19 of Martin Truex Jr. Contact early, all the way back to 26th position before this stage kind of pit cycle started. 25 laps on his tires, and he's sitting in 8th, creeping around the yellow line. Look at the discipline. There's no one around him. He is putting on a veteran drive. He has completely flipped this race upside down for him. He was way behind. James Small made a call. Martin Truex Jr. committed, focused, and he's going to finish this stage inside the top 10. If Truex goes on to a good day or even a win, it'll be stage 2 that this team will circle where everything changed.
Steve, aren't you the same guy who told us just about, I don't know, 10 minutes ago that he'd be 2 laps down potentially?
Well, you see what happened to the 34. They were tracking together, and all of a sudden, whatever the 19 found, either with adjustments or behind the wheel, he stopped the degradation in the tire. Where the 34 continued to lose time, the 19 of Truex did anything but.
And Larson running right up against the fence now.
Yeah, at the top of the screen there, you see it. Brad Keselowski putting cars a lap down. Larson still lurking right there behind him, trying to get himself back on the lead lap. 4 laps to go on the stage. If he cannot do that, can he at least stay there to be able to get the free pass? And the 48, his teammate,
blocked him,
cuts him off, and runs him up the racetrack right here, trying to take that high line away.
That's how competitive it is. You want to be the first car a lap down or try to get back to Brad. I really think Larson thinks he can get back to Brad. He got it right up against the boards in 3 and 4 and was making really good time. And now that he's got to Bowman, he's slowed down a little bit.
So here we go. The 5 has got another run on the 48 down the back straightaway. Here's a replay of him getting chopped a little bit right there. Now the 48 is going to take the top of the racetrack. And if Larson's going to get this pass done, he's going to have to do it on the bottom of the racetrack with 2 to go. And will Brad?
Yeah, this will be a great race right here.
Will Brad catch another car to put another car lap down? Blaney is the next car at the end of at the tail end of the field. And I don't think that Brad gets there. So this is the race. The 48 and the 5 is the race for the free pass when this caution comes out.
Brad.
And they are leaning on each other back there. Man, look at that.
Literally touching as they go through the turn 3 and 4 one more time around in stage 2.
It's the battle right here. Brad's going to win the stage. This right here is a battle for the free pass.
Bowman or Larson? Bowman has the spot right now. And you mentioned it, Keselowski. Yes, he's going to win the stage by a long shot. A last effort to get in front of Bowman.
The 5, you can see him sideways off the corner, just could not get it done.
So Keselowski, his 3rd stage win this year and at Richmond. As we see it populated again, the top 10 all receiving stage points. Keselowski now with a playoff point with the win of stage 2. Things heating up here in Richmond. You don't want to make mistakes, especially now that we're getting ready for the final stage. Brad Keselowski wins stage 2. Getting ready for pit stops in the final stage. NASCAR Cup Series racing from Richmond, presented by Toyota. Well, NASCAR Drive, that's your live race day companion. You can follow your favorite drivers with access to their in-car cameras. You can even choose some alternate camera angles and customize your entire streaming experience. All you have to do is visit NASCAR.com/drive, or you can download the NASCAR mobile app to watch all of the action. Crews ready up on the wall as they want to do a perfect stop. There might only be one more after this, or whatever strategy plays out, maybe 2 more as cars making the way onto pit road. Dylan?
RFK Racing 1 and 2. Race leader Brad Keselowski pulls in first. Top of your screen. Team said did a great job managing those tires. Just a little bit free. His teammate Chris Buescher said he was also starting to get free, but fires off really good, Marty.
Dylan, 1st and 3rd in the 2 stages so far today for Tyler Reddick, who radioed to Billy Scott, hey, I had brake shake on that run. I don't know what happened. That was a problem, a big problem for them here in the spring. And they said, we know what to do. They're in that first pit stall. We'll see if they can gain some track position. No, Keselowski flashes by. Reddick leads with 4 fresh Goodyear tires. He also wanted a water. I know we've showed it, Rick, but it's awfully warm inside the car for the drivers.
Very warm. We've seen the temperatures around 135 degrees inside. We see Busch and Gibbs both gaining spots on pit road. getting ready for the start of the final stage, and you see the points earned today. Again, up to 10 points if you win a stage, all the way down to 1 if you finish in the 10th spot. And Reddick gets 18 points. Bubba Wallace, that's big, at 16 points for Bubba Wallace, because right now, coming into this race, Bubba Wallace was only 27 points above the cut line.
On the pre-race show, Marty asked Junior and I to go through those bubble drivers and who we thought could get in and how. And we talked about Bubba Wallace. We said, hey, self-admittedly, he's not raising his hand as a great road course racer. We have a couple coming up. Those points through the stages today, that could be just the thing that takes the pressure off him going to the road courses. I mean, maybe even a win. He looks good enough to win. So a big day for the 23 car.
Yeah, somebody that's not having a big day, and I said that he was going to get himself into playoffs. Michael McDowell removing equipment. He was running 23rd. His strategy was not working out, but now that penalty, he's going to have to go all the way to the back of the grid. So this is not the race this team needed at all in this tight point battle. They're going to, unless something happens here, they're going to have a lot of ground to make up after this race.
Now this stage is 10 laps longer than the stage we just ran. One stop did work for Truex relative to the field, but not really relative to the leaders. He still lost time to the leaders. So, I mean, it's all about this restart. RFK on the front row, feeling great. 23-11 on the second row, right behind him. And now it just comes down to really what you just saw. I mean, barring yellows, it's going to be a couple stops. When you make them stops, how well you do it. Make sure the pit crew's clean. Make sure the driver's clean. There's just a lot of moving parts to this last 162 laps.
And we got a lot of names up there in the top 10 that are new or have worked their way back in the top 10 from the first part of the race, and that's Kyle Busch up there in 5th. And then you have Priest and Austin Dillon having a top 10 run so far today.
For this restart, we're going to let you ride along with Brad Keselowski, Bubba Wallace, Denny Hamlin, and Chase Elliott as we get ready for the green for the final stage. Steve, you mentioned the strategy that played out as we see Denny Hamlin go wide and really high, trying to take advantage of this restart. Can he get by the 23?
Bubba's going to give him the room.
Now they're door to door.
Bubba's going to beat him on corner exit here. Here comes the 11, though, back on the outside. Priest trying to block there, the 54 of Ty. Ty Gibbs gets right in the back bumper of the 41 car, Priest.
Yeah, this final stage, things are heating up here.
These restarts are always fun, especially in stage 3, Rick. Chaos.
Hamlin still fighting hard on the outside of Bubba Wallace. We'll see if he can clear him. He does. He's going to stay in that second line, see if he can get Tyler Reddick now.
Tyler right there in front of him, and Denny will have the momentum off the corner, pulls away from Bubba Wallace. Does he go to the inside of the 45 here for turn 3? Nope. Staying in that second groove, trying to make it work. He's got some momentum again down the front straightaway. He's trying to look to the inside. Tyler Reddick trying to cover.
Hamlin, so much success here at Richmond.
So Hamlin right now, it's going to be really difficult to carry the speed into the corner. This is where the bottom's got to work, middle and exit. But you can see Tyler Reddick has enough rear grip to keep Hamlin behind him. These guys on the outside can drive in the corner. Oh, loose in the corner right there for Reddick.
He recovers, gets the car turned, throttles up off the corner, and drives away from Denny.
Brad Keselowski, then Buescher, the two RFK cars running 1 and 2. Then it's Reddick, Hamlin, Wallace, all in the top 5. Steve, we mentioned earlier about the different strategies. Just because you did a 2-stop strategy in stage 2 doesn't mean you have to stay with that same strategy. Other people could go to that single stop strategy in the final stage.
Yeah, each stage kind of races by itself. Really, the only driver that is in any sort of concern is the 20 of Christopher Bell, who decided to take the wave around to get on the back of the lead lap. He's currently 19th, 9 seconds back, really behind the pack on old tires. He's hoping for a yellow right away, but everybody else is squared up on fuel and tires.
That was looking back from the BuildSubmarines.com onboard as we see now Logano going to the inside of Austin Dillon.
Yeah, it's a good battle, good run for the 3-car of Austin Dillon after the disappointment of last week and basically a disappointing season all around. But he's come to a good racetrack for him. He had some good runs at Richmond. He's going to give this spot up to Logano. See Chase Elliott lurking there behind. And then Ty Gibbs in 11th place. Remember the block Priest threw on him on this restart? The 54 is faded back to the bumper of his teammate, Martin Truex Jr. in the 19.
And you wonder, Martin Truex Jr., you know, we've seen him play that one-stop strategy, Steve. You wonder if Martin, if they're going to play the one-stop strategy, you have to save tires now. Like, if you're going to make that work, you've got to save tires at the beginning of the run. If not, you can hurt your tires really badly pushing hard right now. You wonder if that's a little bit of what's going on with them at the moment.
And you see these 3 cars right here, 3 wide racing everywhere. Another car with a great recovery, Jeff. You know, the 10 of Almirola, he's back up to 15th after that commitment line violation. So doing a nice job. And it is going to be interesting to see, you know, not only how many times they stop, but what lap they stop on. That can be a big difference, right? Where you blend back in traffic.
Take another look back here at 2 of Austin Cindric and the 43 of Eric Jones.
Eric's got him up the racetrack. A little bit of contact there. Cindric won't be happy.
Yeah, Chastain running in the back of the 42. This is fun to watch these guys. We talk about the leaders a lot, but some of the best racing, as we said today, happens back here around these positions in the back of the field.
You mentioned Chastain. I mean, they just have not run well. Suarez has not run well. Suarez back in 30th, Chastain in 25th.
It gets more and more entertaining as the race goes on because they're more and more ticked off about how their cars drive and running in the back. And so their fuses get shorter and shorter and shorter.
Jeff, you mentioned the fact that Martin Truex Jr. might have to take it a little bit easier. Mentally, though, after what he did in that last stage, does that tell him maybe I can run a little bit harder at the beginning of this stage because of how well he was running at the end of that run?
I think this is when you really hurt your tires. This early part of the run, you got to be really smart with them. And so you want to go and just run as hard as you can. But if you know your strategy is to run long, then I think you have to start conserving tires at the very beginning of the run.
See a good side-by-side battle here as Chase Elliott looks to the inside of Austin Dillon. That's for that 9th spot. Dillon has it. Elliott trying to take it away.
Man, it seemed like last week after practice it was not easy, but we had a good idea who was going to be fast or who wasn't in the race. We covered practice yesterday, and some of the cars I thought were going to be good just are not today. Back to that conversation we had earlier, Junior, right? Like, this was really hard. I saw Buscher was pretty good, and but Brad is way better than I thought he was going to be.
Right here, right here for 9th and 10th. These are the 2 best Chevrolets in the field. And, you know, the Fords are out front, 1st and 2nd, then the Toyotas. And we had talked since we brought the broadcast back to NBC that the Fords have having a bit of an off year. But since Atlanta, the Fords have actually been one of the stronger manufacturers. They come to a short track where they typically have a bit of a disadvantage on aero, and they're performing really well. Dave.
As you watch Austin Dillon continue to try to hold off Chase Elliott, will he do it here? Yep, he's still on the inside. Good side-by-side battle here. When I talked to his crew chief, Keith Rodden, this morning, he said, what an up-and-down year it has been. We're kind of looking for small victories now, 30th in the points, 160 away. They can't do anything about the playoffs except win. So small victories, yes. Would they like the big victory? Absolutely. He said, but week by week, consistently doing the right things, that's where we're headed with this team right now.
Chase Elliott has made the pass on Austin Dillon. He's running in the 9th position, just a couple spots ahead of him. Also in a Chevrolet is Kyle Busch running in that 6th spot. But right now, the Fords dominating with Keselowski and Busch running 1-2. next Sunday on the streets of Nashville, it's NTT IndyCar Series Racing. That coverage beginning at noon Eastern on NBC and Peacock. You know the top two right now, Alex Palou and Joseph Newgarden. They both have 4 wins, and there's only 5 races remaining in the season. Again, that's from Nashville, the streets of Nashville, as we see RFK Racing looking very strong here at Richmond with Keselowski out in front and Chris Buescher running in that second spot.
Buescher hounding his teammate just a little bit. Had to imagine that Buescher's probably not pushing as hard as he can just yet. And he was running a little bit offset in that last corner trying to keep air on the nose, but follows Brad through 1 and 2.
What a great feeling, huh, for a team to have the guys running first, second, out 2 seconds on the field right now.
Seems like their cars just get better as the race is going, too. I didn't really think they had this kind of speed at the start, but once they've gotten to clean air, they just so much faster than the rest of the field.
It's been 2 years since Brad Keselowski has been to victory lane. When he has a race like this, he's already been out front the most laps, 82 laps. Do you start thinking about the possibility of getting to victory lane, or is it too soon in this race?
Oh, you're thinking about it.
Oh.
Yes, you are. You're scared to think about it, but you're thinking about it.
Trying not to think about thinking about it.
There's no way you can't. Think about what Brad Keselowski, you just said it. It's been a while since he's been in victory lane, but also, you know, buying into this team and saying, hey, we're going to get back to the front and have your teammate running second, you leading. There is no question that winning is on your mind right now.
And he's got a very hungry Buescher behind him. Chris Buescher bringing that 17, and he's closed the gap now to almost the bumper for the lead here. Dylan.
Well, it's been a long, hot day in the office for all of these drivers. Bubba Wallace, no exception to that. Here's the radio of maybe who he was a little bit displeased with just a moment ago.
What the on, man? 11 car is fighting loose. Away.
Remember, that's car owner and team driver, so the driver a little upset with the boss right now, Marty.
Yeah, and I think that might have been after the restart. So Denny Hamlin has been saying all day long his car just loses way too mumuch speed over the run. So Dale Jr., question for you. If you know, hey, my car is not that good on the long run, does that make you a little extra aggressive behind the wheel on the restart, taking advantage of a short run to get some speed out of the car?
Yeah, I think so. You know, you try to take advantage of that opportunity when you can. If you have that short run speed, you try to make the most of it. But I think that this track is changing a ton, so that long run speed could come to you. We have a lot of cloud cover right now, and so you know you have some sun on the track at times, but it's going to start cooling off, tightening up a little bit as this race goes on. So if Denny's fighting a loose race car, I think the track comes to him for those final 100 laps.
Top 2 looking strong, as I mentioned. Then it's 3 Toyotas with Reddick, Hamlin, and Wallace running 3, 4, 5. Kyle Busch in his Chevrolet is 6. A couple more Fords with Preece and Logano, 7th and 8th.
And I had mentioned the 20 of Christopher Bell had taken the wave around with time and run out for the driver of the 20. He's coming down pit road. Didn't get the yellow he needed. I like the gamble, winning the bank. Unfortunately, I don't think the gamble's going to pay off, Marty.
Yeah, I talked to Adam Stevens right after that move. He said, hey, it was the only shot I had today. It's been a struggle this weekend for the 20 car. Not much pace in race practice, not much pace in qualifying practice either. And to Adam Stevens' point, Steve, sometimes you got to roll the dice. If you know, hey, I've been a lap down for most of the day. They took the wave around, and normally stage 3 brings some cautions. That's what they were banking on. They never came.
Yeah, still only 2 cautions for this entire race, and those came at stage breaks.
We're watching this 17 car Buescher, and he is continuously hounding the leader, and I think his car is much quicker. He continues to run a little bit faster lap. Just kind of wondering who's struggling. Is either one of these drivers struggling, or are they both setting a very comfortable pace, Dylan?
So they are both pretty happy, but TJ Majors, Brad Spotter, told him, do not get off the yellow line on the bottom and keep your left front on it all the way off the corner to the restart zone. Make Buescher go around you the long way. So Brad changed that from how they restarted, and for now, he's been able to hold his teammate off, but for how long is the question?
Yeah, exactly. I think that Buescher eventually is going to get a little less patient, sitting here right behind Brad, but making this pass on the top here. He's got a little momentum. Can he get there? Can he get there? Just not quite able to get up alongside Brad. I think once he does get the car on the outside quarter panel, then he's got Brad in a tough position to be able to not be able to finish the corner. He just can't get there. He's faster, but having to go the longer way around the racetrack, making it tough for this 17.
Dave, what's going on with Eric Almirola?
Everything good today, Rick, except for that penalty on pit road. It was interesting. In stage 1, he drove from 24th all the way up to the front of the field, and then he got that commitment line penalty and drove back up to 13th after that from the back of the field. Drew Blickensderfer, his crew chief, told me this morning, you know, Eric will not go crazy and burn up his tires, but he had to on that second run. Yeah, he fell off right there at the end, but after the penalty, he showed that the 10 car can go when it needs to. Right now, he says it's just too over-rotating in the center of the corner.
Almirola currently running in that 14th position.
Yeah, and all 4 SHR cars inside the top 15. Big turnaround for the organization.
Things heating up as we see the 17 closing the gap on the 6 of Keselowski in the NASCAR Cup Series racing from Richmond, presented by Toyota. Can he find the preferred line? Buescher now under a car length away. As quickly as that happened, you saw the 7 drift up the track and the 22 on pit road, Dylan.
Joey Logano is in, just said that he has been as free on this run on exit as he's been all day. So they needed to make some changes, get Logano a little bit better. Chris Buescher, I believe, is on his way in, or there he is right there. So didn't say much on the radio on this run, just was searching for some clean air and a way to get around the race leader and his teammate, Brad Keselowski. On the bottom of your screen, Bubba Wallace, kind of the same thing. Been pretty happy on this run. Just needs some center turn and lateral grip for the 23.
Well, the 17 came to pit road. That forces the leader, Brad Keselowski, to counter. We'll see if one lap fresher is the difference for the 17 of Buescher as Brad on an awkward turn into his pits. Looks weird, but it's clear because the driver's allowed to have the right rear out of the box. Right front, left rear must be in the pit box. Right rear can be out, so it's legal. It's just slow. So on the top of your screen, you see the 6 on pit road, the 17 in the middle of the corner. So right here is the 17 of Buescher on the front stretch. This one I don't think is even going to be close. I think the 17 between coming a lap early and I'm sure that awkward entry by the 6 of Keselowski is going to cost the 6 a ton of time against his RFK teammate. Nearly the entire back straightaway.
So two-stop strategies taking place right now.
Yeah, absolutely. All these guys with 114 to go are going to have to stop a couple times. Hamlin's going to run long like he did the last time and split it up, probably dead on the math. So now the risk, all right, so RFK pitted. First guy's to pit road. But now Hamlin, Truex, Elliott, they're thinking, I see debris here, debris here, debris here. Let me see a caution. That would change everything.
Chase Elliott on pit road. Dylan.
But it's still been a little bit of a struggle for Chase Elliott today. Just hasn't been able to get the balance exactly how they wanted to, but they've just been chipping away at trying to get some points today as best they can, just maximizing the day for the 9, Marty.
Ricky Stenhouse Jr., they've lost a handle a little bit on the car the further they've run, but they've hung around the top 15 all day long. As Rick and Steve just talked about, all these teams thinking about 2 more stops. Hamlin, no word on his radio when he would come to pit road. He's leading right now.
14 and 34 also on pit road now as we see the 47 coming off of pit road. Ross Chastain also on pit road.
This, you know, as we see Chastain's pit stop, the struggle for the guys that stay on the racetrack of the new tires are just completely eating them up. Dylan.
Yeah, Ross Chastain, you saw him there. He's been tight, he's been loose, he's been everything in between. So has not been the day that either of the Trackhouse cars have won it. Chastain's included in that as he's completed his service.
So what I mean by the new tires eating them up is not really the positions that matter, but once again, Denny's not running the line he wants to run. He keeps getting forced off the preferred line. So here comes Keselowski. He's going to fill the bottom as well, forcing the 11 up the racetrack. Now the 11's going to get stuck behind the 7, probably cost him even more time. 7 pulls up and allows the 11 to get to the bottom completely. But you see the difference between old and new tires. I mean, it's a huge difference.
And you can also see on the left side of the screen with the running order, the issue that Brad had on pit road cost him not only the lead position or the spot to Buescher, which will be the lead when this cycles, but also he lost the spot to Reddick, Wallace, and Ryan Preece, who came to pit road first. So Brad went from potentially sitting there with a position to win this race. Now he's going to have some work to do.
Marty.
You see Daniel Suarez coming down pit road. Let's go back to the beginning of their day in stage 1. They decided to try and make it on 1 stop. Really hasn't worked out for them. 2 laps down for most of the day for Daniel Suarez. Again, one of those drivers near the cutoff line trying to make it in. Denny Hamlin, the leader. You're going to watch it right here. He's going to come to pit road looking to trying to hang on to that race car. But Chris Gabehart staying very disciplined to the number that he wanted to get to. 53 laps into this run. He brings his driver down pit road. Hamlin said at A, he had a little brake shake on that run, but the car starts way too tight and then immediately almost flips to way too loose, which is what Bubba Wallace was talking about on the radio a moment ago. So Hamlin coming in here for fresh Goodyear tires, hoping for a clean stop here, Dave.
And now Ryan Blaney comes down pit road. This car, most of the day has not been to his liking, but it came around a little bit during this stage. So he'll get his 4 Goodyear tires, his Sunoco fuel to take him to the next stop. Looks hot up above there.
Yeah, we still see that temperature of 132 degrees. It's been north of 130 degrees for almost the entirety of this race as William Byron is on pit road now, Dave.
And he's just trying to battle back here. They were off sequence. They lost time. It's been a rough day for them. But the last few laps, Rudy Fugle, his crew chief, was trying to encourage him to set lap times that would set a pace that they believed would help them toward the end of this. We'll see where he cycles back at the end of stage 3.
Well, cycle's the question. Pit cycle is in the midst. You see Truex leading, Bowman second, yet to pit. Let's listen into the 19 and what they're thinking.
Your lap times are excellent. Just keep pressing on.
For how long, just so I know what to do tire-wise? A while or not?
Another 20, 25 laps we can go here.
All right, there you have it. 20 to 25 laps tells me that James Small is going to risk it, stop once. And I think this is one of those stories that he may not think this is a strategy to win the race if it runs green. But Dylan, you know, he's leading the race. A caution, he has that extra set of tires. A caution would bring the 19 right into the best track position.
Yeah, that's it. They've got those extra tires. Remember, that's the opposite of the situation they were in at the end of the race in the spring. So the interesting thing about this is Martin has been complaining this entire run. He said, I have no rear grip. I can't get off the corner. But James Small has just kept reiterating, your pace is good. Just keep doing what you're doing because we're in a good spot. So I know you know how hard it is to convince the driver to just stick with the plan. But you're right. If they get one lucky break here, it could all go exactly as they drew it up.
We talked about how the 6-car Keselowski lost his track position. This is it. He comes into pits, watch the front tires. He locks them up. Now they won't turn. So now he just has to go straight. And here he is in this awkward position on pit road. Steve did a great job of explaining why that was not a penalty. But that's what happened, just trying to get in there a little bit hot. And look, this 41 car, Ryan Preece, this is a battle for 5th place. Ryan Preece pitted a couple laps before Wallace did, but he still has a little more speed than Bubba does.
Right behind them, Brad Keselowski trying to overcome the issue he had on pit road. But yes, I love this 41 car and what they've been able to do today. They had some problems on pit road early. They've rebounded. Preece has stayed buckled in, kept his head on straight. Now battling for a top 5 finish.
Preece running in that 6th spot and a huge improvement. Right now he's 27th in points. So Ryan Preece having a great day here at Richmond. Under 100 laps remaining at the action track as you see position battles happening right here with Bubba Wallace and Ryan Preece. Those two are continually fighting for the 4th spot. The lead, and you saw it, Christopher Buescher went by Martin Truex Jr. for the lead. Here was that.
Yeah, Martin on these older tires. Pretty easy pass for the 17 off the corner, just throttles up down the straightaway. Martin's just trying to make lap time out there. running 26 flats now. Needs to be running a little quicker than that for this strategy to play off. And then the 5 car, he's been running this high line all day long, but got in the fence a little bit. When you run up there, you push limits. No harm, no foul. This battle here still rages on between Bubba Wallace and Ryan Preece. Ryan Preece and Bubba battling for 4th position. And I think if Preece can clear the 23, he'll drive away. He's a quicker car. But Bubba knows it. If he just holds this outside line, he can work this 41 over, and maybe Preece's tires will fail him a little bit. Bubba will be able to keep the position and then drive away. It's like, why do you run this guy hard? Well, you're trying to get him to work. You're trying to get him to use up his car, use up his rear tires, force him to have to back off and get the spot back to you. Try to regroup.
So while this battle is taking place, let's take a look at the progressive telemetry, and we'll do it with the driver on the outside, Bubba Wallace. Take a look at how he manages the throttle, the brake.
He just gets the wide open right before the flag stand up on the straightaway. So it's going to give this spot up finally right there to Preece. Look how slowly he goes back to the throttle. If he went to the throttle any harder, he'd just spin the rear tires and the car would turn sideways. Watch again. Easy, easy, easy on that throttle. It's like you got an egg between your foot and the pedal and you try not to break it.
And not only when you're spinning those rear tires, you're making them angry, you're hurting them, you're making them run slower later in the run because you are damaging them. It also hurts your lap time. So, you know, I think this perception about how you drive a race car is you just drive it harder, you know, mash the gas quicker, mash it faster. That's not how it works. You have to be right on the edge of rear grip.
And the 19 of Truex finally coming to pit road. You see him on the side of the screen right there. So they're making their pit stop. Their 1 pit stop with 88 laps to go, Steve.
Yeah, I think basically they just started getting too slow, Dylan. They had to come a little earlier than they wanted.
Yeah, exactly. And remember what Martin said. He just had no rear grip, couldn't get off the corner the entire run, and it finally just reached ahead where they had to come in and get some new tires for Truex.
Would you send him and keep him out there for 87 more laps? I mean, have they committed to that and they have to?
Well, I think what this is going to do is give him a bigger chance of window where a yellow will put him in a good position. So, you know, I think they can run 87 laps. They got to a number they felt like could safely run on tires. It's not optimal, but they just, you know, they were losing too much time.
Brad Keselowski loses a spot to the 17 car of Hamlin. Brad struggling just a bit here, running a little bit slower times than the rest of the top 5. Hamlin, though, moving forward. Now looking out the back bumper of Bubba Wallace, door dash cam. His car owner closing in through the center of the corner. That's what you love to see when you're in that number 11 and roll up on the car in front of you through the middle of the corner. That's when you know you're better. See if you can do it down here. Gaining right there in the middle of the corner, man. It's a good-looking car this 11's got here late in the race.
Good enough to get up front.
9 seconds back. I don't know if they can run down Busher, but certainly good enough to get in the top 5, top 3, or I'm sorry, top 3 there. Only, what, a second behind Preece. So he's got the speed.
And a little wiggle there we saw out of the 23 for the 11 to get on the inside. The 5 down on pit road, Marty.
After a little brush for the wall, Kyle Larson brings it to pit road. Cliff Daniels telling him on the radio, this is really our only play to do 1 stop here in stage 3. That's what they're thinking, and they're really running with a 19 car. Cliff Daniels emphasized that on the radio to Kyle Larson. This set of tires will get us back on the lead lap the old-fashioned way. We'll see how it plays out, though, for the 5.
It will be tough, though, right, Steve? Because they're scored 2 laps down right now.
Yeah, Martin Truex Jr. after his pit stop is barely a lap down to the leader. Where the 5, remember that battle he had with Bowman, and he was unfortunately not able to get the free pass. That kind of has put him a lap behind. He's now 2 laps down after his pit stop.
Dylan, what about the 41 and Ryan Preece in this run he's having?
Well, and it's even more interesting when you look at his Richmond stats. No finish better than 18th, and he hasn't been that far back, I don't think, all day long. So he was optimistic at the start of the day and has delivered on that. They've tweaked on this car all day long, but forward drive has been their strong suit, and that's what he had when he was racing with Bubba Wallace there. You could see it, and he's had it all day, and that's what has allowed him to run 3rd right now, Marty.
Dylan, to folks at home or Kyle Busch fans, what a refreshing, successful short track day it's been for the 18. But it didn't start out that way. They started 2nd today and then fell back to 22nd. But he told Randall Burnett, who has not given up on this car, and they've struggled all year long at the short tracks, He said, I love the last 3 adjustments, much more in the ball game. Kyle Busch sitting in 7th, Dave.
Austin Dillon's strong day continues. He'll pit in about 10 laps with the number 3 car. It didn't look like it was going to be good, though, because 2 stints ago, he radioed crew chief Keith Rodden after a few laps on the track after a pit stop and said, I think you went the wrong way on the air pressure adjustments. About 15 laps later, he said, it's coming to me. Keith said, I knew it would. Junior, was there ever a time when you were absolutely sure they'd made the wrong adjustment? And you know what? The car came to you.
Man, I don't know. Steve, do you ever remember a time when we...
I was going to be honest.
Yeah, I don't, you know, I really wasn't a driver that needed to know what you were doing. I was just going to tell you how it drove, how it handled, and I hope that you fixed it, you know. I didn't want to get into the details of, well, what exactly did you change? I felt like that wasn't my role as a driver. I wanted to really trust what you were going to do, just give you more feedback.
And what makes this track so difficult, we heard it in practice, out of drivers like Kyle Busch, is, you know, even Chris Buescher leading doesn't feel great. You know, it's not like anyone's driving out there going, oh man, my car is exactly how I want it. Every car is slipping and sliding, so it really just comes down to how fast am I going? Is the car in front of me getting closer or the car behind me getting closer?
And for those of you who couldn't see it, there was a very coy look that Junior just gave Steve when he posed that question to him. Chris Buescher, Tyler Reddick, 1 and 2 here at Richmond. Make sure on Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern you join Brad Doherty as he will be on NASCAR Radio Channel 90. That's NBC Sports on Sirius XM. Brad Doherty joining the morning drive. So he will talk about this short track racing, and we just saw the 11 and the 5 of Kyle Larson, and I think it took 330 laps before we saw that.
You know, Kyle on newer tires and just telling Denny, you know, you're not going to be the guy that slows me up. He said before the race he was going to race him different, and that's what that was. Didn't wreck him or anything. Just, hey, I got new tires, rolling through here. Not going to let you slow me up. Move him out of the way. Off he goes.
And I'm not sure you saw no reaction out of Hamlin, because I think he was like, yep, yeah, I don't think he's shocked at that.
Into the race. This was fighting for the lead, and up into the wall went the 5 of Larson. Denny Hamlin went on to win the race, and after the race, that was at caution. This is when the 5 got into the door of the 11, showing displeasure. But after the race, Kyle Larson said, I'm going to have to race him different. We just saw it. He went, put the bumper to him, said, hey, I'm going by.
Listen, I am one of, I feel like, the few that was okay with what the 11 did. And I am totally fine with what Kyle Larson just did, right? Like, everything has repercussions. And that's Kyle Larson saying, okay, man, you know, like you said, Jeff, he didn't wreck him, but he definitely didn't waste any time. And I'm okay if he does it the next time, right? One was for a win, and one was 3/4 of the race through Richmond. I think you're going to see a bunch of that.
You put him in a position to have to lift or not.
Oh, that's good. I like that. You should make a T-shirt.
Yes, we've heard that comment before. Now, Denny might say, or might come back, he's 2 laps down to me, and he put a bumper to the back of him.
If he's smart, he won't say that. I mean, you
hey,
can't, like, at some point you have to just say, okay, and just keep on racing. I mean, maybe I'm looking at it wrong, but I don't think he's in a position to complain about how he's being raced.
Hamlin still in that 3rd position, 8.7 seconds back, and one of the fastest cars on the track. Just a matter of time. Can he reel in Chris Buescher? Of course, stops still coming for Buescher, Reddick, Hamlin, Priest. They are all on a 2-stop strategy in this final stage.
You know, Buescher's rolling right along. He's, you know, still the fastest car on the racetrack, or at least as good as anybody. And but his teammate, the 6 right here, back on pit road, Dylan.
Yeah, that's right. Brad just was reporting the last few laps. We just lost grip. So they've had that all day long, even on the longer runs, but lost it here on this run. So brought Brad in just to make some last-minute adjustments and change tires. Joey Logano in as well. He was reporting he just kept getting freer on his run.
Truex Jr. unlapping himself. We just saw the 19 go by. Dylan.
So here's Ryan Preece continuing his good run as well. Hasn't said much on this stint, but as we said, their forward drive has been their strong suit today, and that's what Preece is going to need more of here. Bubba Wallace also backsliding, just losing the balance in the rear of the race car in his Toyota. 4 tires and fuel for Bubba.
63 laps to go. Kevin Harvick is on pit road, as also is Chase Elliott. Harvick needing 4 tires. His car, they got to be careful adjusting him here. They thought he had a slow leak, maybe, but they're going to make a chassis adjustment for Kevin's complaints.
Kyle Busch coming down pit road. He told Randall Burnett a moment ago, we're going to fall like a rock here. We need much more rear grip off the corner. Denny Hamlin also on pit road. So, Steve, this is, I think, earlier than everybody thought they would come here with, what is it, 62 laps to go in the race.
Yeah, this is a little earlier than I thought where they were going to come. This is going to play right into the 19's hand. You see Tyler Reddick on pit road. He had a big moment trying to get to pit road, and pit road is very full.
Yeah, and so far, no word on the radio, but I believe they got on pit road cleanly, even though it was a bit of a big moment for Tyler Reddick, who said, the car's not bad, I just can't run the bottom like everybody else. Chris Buescher comes in leading in front of you, Dylan.
That's right, and he has been really happy with this race car on this run. Don't see any chassis adjustments, but Buescher has been pleased with the race car. Just going to have to keep it out front here to keep the clean air and track position.
So Chris Buescher's going to rejoin, and right now it's basically just going to be a battle between Chris Buescher on new tires and the 19 of Martin Truex Jr., who has already pitted his one and only time. There's Truex. He's already on the backstretch. He's going into turn 3. You see on the top of your screen, Buescher is basically half the straightaway behind him. I think he'll have no problem catching him, but that is what the race win will look like. 19 on old tires, Buescher trying to run him down.
Hey, Steve, line violation for Tyler Reddick. You called it. They did not get to pit road cleanly, so one of the contenders will serve a penalty right here. Look at that. And, oh, that's close, but he does touch that orange box. Can't do that, Steve. So one of the contenders out of it here. Tyler Reddick gets a penalty on what should be the last stop of the day.
Yeah, the problem started in turn 3. He just drove in the corner way too deep, did not anticipate the line coming up so quickly, locked the tires up, trying to get to pit road. The car won't turn with the front tires locked up, and he just barely missed it, but just pushing too hard to get to pit road.
A great day gone bad for Buescher. Had a 4.5 second lead, or Buescher had a 4.5 second lead over the 45. So again, the 45
he's a lap,
Reddick.
Yeah, he's a lap down. to Truex. So he's faster than Truex with the newer tires, so he should be able to drive up there and unlap himself. The 45, Rick. Steve.
Yep.
Yeah, the 45 is coming off pit road, 1 lap down, and so you see the leader right there in front of him. So the 45, I know, is a mistake, but he can unlap himself here quickly. If we do get a late yellow, they'll have an opportunity to try to regroup and rebound and get something out of this day. So while that was a bad mistake, they're still in a decent position to salvage something.
I like how you're looking at that, too, right, Junior? Because you're instantly saying, okay, hey, we can't go back and do what we did over. So how do you get out of this mess? And it's right here. It was quick work, to your point.
And so he's unlapping himself right there. Buescher is not far behind this group right here. There's Buescher going off into turn 1, just about 10, 15 car lengths behind the 19.
If it stays green, Buescher's faster and is going to be able to reel in Martin Truex Jr., but that's only if it stays green. Fans trying to get the wave started here at Richmond. And some are playing along. Some are just enjoying the racing taking place, which includes a pass for the lead. Martin Truex Jr. out front and knew this was going to happen if they stayed green. The fresher tires winning out. And Chris Buescher able to get by Martin Truex Jr. He takes the lead now, has a 3-second lead over Truex running in the second spot.
Yeah, much like the first run of this stage, the 19 just does not have the long run speed like we saw in stage 2. I don't know what was magic about that run he had where he kind of plateaued off, but he is losing grip versus the other guys he's racing. Now we see the 11 of Hamlin near the 5 again. This looks like a little bit calmer situation. Yep. Right behind him, though, 41 of Ryan Preece. You know, he kind of got shoved through the box, got put long early, loss of track position. But this 41 car has really done a nice job all day long. It's hard to believe Preece doesn't have a top 10 all year. So, I mean, this is an impressive run inside the top 5.
You know, you think about the start of the year at the Coliseum, they were really fast. I thought he had a shot to win that race. And everybody's like, yeah, man, Ryan Preece, he's coming into the circuit, going to have a lot of success. And it's just been a struggle, been way more difficult than he or anyone thought it was going to be. This is what we thought we would see more of. But this is you got to persevere. You just got to keep fighting. You got to keep pushing. This series is very difficult.
Crew Chief Chad Johnston's done a good job bringing a great race car to the track for Ryan, and their spotter Andy Houston's doing an awesome job. You'll remember Andy in the Truck Series as a driver and making it to the Cup Series as well. His father, Tommy Houston, a legend in the short tracks through the 70s and 80s.
Great family.
And I think Ryan Preece might hold the whole modified neighborhood and family and community on his shoulders. I think coming from Berlin, Connecticut, Ryan Preece has the expectations of all those drivers who've grown up in the Northeast in that modified division. They're hoping for Ryan Preece to have a good day. They're hoping for Ryan Preece to get to victory lane. And right now, a great performance here in Ford.
That's a great point, Rick. All these different disciplines love to see their drivers graduate and come up here and have success. He's kind of hanging on to the back bumper of that 11 car of Hamlin. Hamlin passed him before the pit cycle on the racetrack, so Hamlin with a little bit better race car.
Let's go through the field, and we'll start with Dylan and Chris Buescher.
Well, it's continued to be a great day, and as we said, they knew that once they cycled back to the front of the field and didn't have really too much pressure behind them, that they'd maybe be able to extend this gap. That's exactly what they've done. Mike Kerman, the spotter, telling Chris Buescher, you have no pressure. Take your time getting through this traffic. Do whatever you need to do to hold on to the race lead. Martin Truex Jr. behind him. We talked about him. He is done pitting for the day. That's their plan, at least. Just going to try to hold on to this pace that they've got. James Small said at the start of today, we just have to control the controllables. They were not good. They were back to 26th at one point. They've gone off strategy, tried to do something different. Even if it's outside, even if it's just a top 10, that's still a good day for them, Marty.
Denny Hamlin gets the second spot from his teammate Martin Truex Jr. Their weakness has been the longer run today for Hamlin. That was actually a strength for them in practice, but Denny's saying car just gets too free, so making adjustments on it, trying to be good for the last run. A moment ago, Chris Gabehart said on the radio, this is a heads-up battle. Buescher is 6 seconds ahead. That's your task, Dylan.
Ryan Preece, as we just talked about, runs in the 4th spot. Short tracker, modified ace at heart, and grew up racing on short tracks around America, and that's played to his strengths so far today on a hot, slippery racing surface where you have to have finesse, you have to be in control, the throttle pedal. He's done that very well, and that's why they're in the position that they're in right now. Brad Keselowski is trying to march back forward. They lost some grip on the last run, made a couple of adjustments to try to give Brad the feeling back in the race car he wanted. It may not be as perfect as it was earlier when they were out front, but seems to be a little bit better now for Keselowski, Marty.
Right behind him, Kyle Busch flirting with the top 5 right now. And all day long, Randall Burnett's kind of pitted a little bit earlier than everybody else, and it has paid dividends for them. But we'll see how this long run goes here, because that has been their weakest part of their game today. Kyle Busch having a nice solid day, though, in 6th, Dylan.
Joey Logano rides in the 7th spot. Nice drive through the field from him after starting 23rd. They've really just gotten free on the last couple of runs. They've tried to make some adjustments, and it just kind of seems to be compounding on itself. So regardless, still a nice day. There wasn't a ton of optimism, I don't think, from this camp before the start of the day, but I think they'll be happy with a top 10 run for Logano if they can hang on to that. Right behind him, I think maybe the opposite for Bubba Wallace. After showing so much promise, they backslid here to the back of the top 10. Bubba's biggest report just needs help in the center with turn and lateral grip in the 23. Dave?
Dylan, Kevin Harvick just got around Bubba Wallace there for that position. That will put Harvick into 8th, and there was no leak. I checked with Jamie Tursky, tire specialist, for Harvick. No leak in the 4 cars' tires. They were all up. That means the adjustment, if accurate, should be right in the sweet spot for Harvick. Back now to the 10 of Eric Almirola, continuing to have a good day now that he has solidified his position, trying to get more spots before the end of the race. And Austin Dillon still racing well in his Chevrolet. Nice quick stop for the 3 team there. He continues on. Chase Briscoe, perhaps the surprise in 12th. Surprise because he's not been on the screen much today. The 14 car, when I talked to his crew chief, Richard Boswell, earlier today, he said, I'm cautiously optimistic. We qualified 20th, but Chase is really good here. And they have become really good here, Marty. Chase Briscoe up to 12th.
Dave, I'll go back to the point we started the day with. Tyler Reddick and Billy Scott will both tell you, listen, we've had speed all year long. Execution has been our biggest problem. Sometimes it's on pit road with the crew, sometimes it's with the driver, and Tyler Reddick will admit that as well. The stop a moment ago hit the box, but still on the lead lap. Billy Scott telling him nonstop, Dylan, we still have one of the best cars. We're not out of it yet.
Chase Elliott, the last car on the lead lap, riding in 14th. His latest report, the front of the car turns, but the rear tires can't take it. That's really been their mantra all day. The balance has not been exactly where they wanted. They had some speed earlier, but it just kind of gone away from them here over the course of the day. So trying to just dial it in here as best they can and hang on over the course of these final 35 laps, but Elliott just trying to hang on to a lead lap spot for now.
Great job, guys, on all of those lead lap cars. 14 of them currently on the lead lap. I want to remind fans, this race started at 3:15, right around 3:15. The temperature in the cars, 134 degrees. They have been racing now for almost 3 hours and only 2 cautions. So really catching your breath, I don't even know if there's ever been a moment you could catch your breath behind the wheel of these cars here at Richmond. Listen in to Denny's radio.
We forced the 17 into a really long run now. I'm going to need that backside magic here, bud. I got you.
And I think that it's pretty impressive what he's been able to do. He's basically knocked about 3 seconds off of that lead. He's passed a handful of cars to pull into second place. So Hamlin, maybe about a 10th faster a lap, sometimes matching Buescher depending on the traffic. But in 32 laps, can he do what he needs to do to make up 6 seconds? That's going to be tough.
But to your point, Rick, rarely do you hear Denny Hamlin, I won't say out of breath,
right,
but you can hear the work he's putting in. That's long green flag runs.
Almost winded, and Denny Hamlin might be an anomaly when we talk about an athlete and how he's able to control his heart rate, because he's one of the very few where his max heart rate might get to 120 or 125, maybe 130, where everybody else, you'll see their heart rates up in the 180s and 185s for these drivers. But yes, Denny Hamlin did sound a little bit like, okay, this has been quite a race.
Well, if you look at we just got the updates from everybody on the lead lap, right? So with 30 to go, if you're in the lead lap, you still have a shot. In my opinion, you get a caution. Everybody's got to put on 4 tires. We've seen chaos in the restarts. It can change in literally a blink of an eye. So if you're Buescher, Hamlin, Priest, Truex, even though you're so focused, you don't want to distract your driver and lose time. But as a crew chief, you got to know, how are we driving? If I get a pit stop, now I don't have to run 50, 60 laps on a set of tires. Now it's only 29 laps. So what do I need to do to make the car better?
And we're riding on the Coca-Cola bumper cam here with Chase Elliott. He's been sitting right in front of the leader, Chris Buescher, for so many laps, running good enough lap times to finish in the top 5 with this 9 car. He's battling right there with the 45. So Reddick now, look at Reddick sliding that car around. Reddick in trouble, at a risk of going a lap down after that issue on pit road, the mistake getting on the pit road. He's able to unlap himself. Now he's in a situation where he could go back a lap down. But Chase Elliott with a lot of speed, a caution comes out for this 9 car. They could regroup and get back in this thing, Marty.
And to that point, Junior, remember a moment ago I told you Billy Scott constantly telling Tyler Reddick in that 45 car, we still have the speed. He said, yep, we do, but I can't make passes out here. As good as that car has been all day long, look how he's just stuck back there in traffic. Leader right behind him. He could go a lap down.
I don't think he has the speed anymore. That car is used up. The 9 car goes around him, and now he's going a lap down. I think the back of this car, the tires on the back of this car are used up.
Well, Buescher's car is just really quick also. He just has the fastest car on the racetrack. There's no doubt about that. And then, the mistake by Reddick, and you put you behind, and then you're not as good as you needed to be. And then the 17 is so much better, and now you're a lap down. And that shows you how quickly things can change. But to your point about the 9 car, his fight right now is to stay in front of the 17, no matter what. Because you can there's only 13 cars in the lead lap. You get a late caution, and then you know how it goes at racetracks. You get a late caution, and you get another one, you get another one. You could find yourself with a much better finish than you're running right now. You have to keep fighting.
Next car in front of Chase Elliott for position is Briscoe, and when we went through the field, Briscoe is the 4th SHR car. All 4 cars in the top 12 having a incredible race today as an organization. They have struggled all year long. The Fords were slow out of the box the first half of the year. It's been a great day for the Fords, though, today, and especially SHR.
7 in the top 13 as far as Fords go, and a Ford driver right here for RFK. You think about Roush drivers and the successes that they have had, especially at this racetrack. Look at this list. Mark Martin, our friend over here, Jeff Burton, Matt Kenson, Kurt Busch, Carl Edwards, all winners here at Richmond. Chris Buescher in a position now. He's 23 laps away. Could he add his name to this list?
Well, if he does, it's going to be bittersweet for Brad Keselowski. Of course, he's going to be excited for the driver that he employs as an owner of RFK. But remember, we've pointed it out, there have been no yellows. And before this green flag cycle, it was Brad Keselowski who was controlling this race. Now, Chris Buescher was right on his rear bumper. But now Brad Keselowski is in the 6th position, 14 seconds behind his teammate. So, you know, this one's going to sting a little bit. I think he's going to go back to, you know, kind of that funny turn into his pit box, and he'll definitely look back at some areas that he probably would wish he could do over.
And those are, with the 6 car getting in his pit box with trouble, that's just not something we see from Brad Keselowski. He's a guy that is kind of a mistake-free driver, and maybe just pushing a little bit hard, understanding how important it is.
Every lap, that entry to 1 was awesome.
And that's great information coming to Brad. They're still in the fight here. I mean, that's great information. Hey, good corner. I need that. Keep pushing.
And all these drivers are going to fight right up until the last lap, because you never know when a caution comes out. And Steve, it could go into the crew's hands as far as a great pit stop to get somebody out front, depending upon how many laps are left in this race.
Oh, if there's a lap left in this race, you better put new tires on. So if there's a yellow, the pit crew, and this is really the same idea. You talked about the focus for the drivers. They definitely have had the biggest challenge in the heat inside the race car. But it's hot outside, and the pit crews have been sitting for these long green flag runs. You know, you got to stay in the game. You got to stay focused in case you get the ball late.
There's Denny Hamlin with Ryan Preece now starting to reel him back in. Preece in the 3rd spot, Hamlin running 2nd. They're both a little over 6 seconds behind Chris Buescher.
Yeah, nobody's been able to make up any time on the 17 car out front. Hamlin's laps are running out. And now the 41's starting to get bigger and bigger in that rearview mirror for the 11.
Big day for the manufacturer. The Blue Oval, we'll see if they can finish it out with just under 18 laps still to go in this race. It's been quite some time, though. The last time Ford went to victory lane was in May in the Charlotte race when Ryan Blaney was able to win the Coca-Cola 600.
Right here you see Chris Buescher still putting pressure on the 9 car of Chase Elliott, but that's not Chris's race. Chris has a 6-second lead. He does not have to push Chase Elliott. If Hamlin were 2 seconds away, then he'd have to push hard and try to get Chase a lap down. But right now, it's just a race to 16 laps. That's what it is. You don't really need to put pressure on Chase Elliott. Run your lap time, keep clean, do not cause a caution. It really may just sit right there. And that's the experience that Chris Buescher has. We know he doesn't have a lot of wins, but he has tons of races under his belt. And this is when that experience comes through.
Yeah, he has really good racecraft. Not a guy that gets overexcited or makes a lot of mistakes. You put him in a good race car, and he's going to get the result for you. Ran 3rd here at this race last year. 28 races since his last win.
And a ton of confidence in him. Brad Keselowski constantly talks about how good Chris Buescher is. We've heard Jack Roush talk about how much he loves Chris Buescher, wants him to be part of this program forever. I mean, that's high praise, and especially with a guy that doesn't have, he doesn't have 20 wins or something like that. It's easy to say that about Denny Hamlin, but Chris Buescher, he's a grinder, he's a fighter. He's doing a really good job, not just today. He's done a great job in his career.
Yeah, only 2 career wins. I mean, you guys are mentioning a lot of the statistics and things. The last time he was in victory lane, it was 28 races ago. Last year, 2022, it was Bristol, a short track. Another short track for Buescher as we are starting to see him shine on this discipline.
Brad led a lot of laps that night as well as he did today when the 17 car last went to victory lane.
That is one thing I feel that RFK does a very nice job of. Of all organizations, I feel these 2 cars run most similar. Now, unfortunately, when they miss it, they're similar. But when they hit it, they're together. And I think that is purely what Brad has brought, right? He said, hey, we're going to do this a certain way. We know it's going to take time. We're going to remain patient. We're going to work as in unison as a 2-car team. And that's what we see. When they are fast, they are both fast.
Yeah, when you've got a driver owner there's a bad habit of putting all the good things on that car, right? But Brad's done a great job of making the whole program better. Now that he's become a part of it. Again, I don't want to take credit away from other people there, crew chiefs, engineers, Jack Roush, and everything that he's built. But I think Brad has certainly turned this program around, and it's impressive how both cars, like you say, are running so well.
And Junior, it's a mindset. It's not only those people that you just mentioned, it's the people that are working on the cars in the shop. They see what Chris Buescher and Brad Keselowski are doing at the racetrack week in and week out, as we've got a spin in turn 4, and a caution has come out for the restart.
Daniel Suarez around backwards.
Yeah, it looks like there you see Scott Graves right there instantly going to work on the radio. What do we need? We know we're coming to pit road. Daniel Suarez has got turned around. I think there was a little bit of contact in the left rear.
It changes everything right here.
So
and like
now,
you say, it's going to put this in the hands of the crews on pit road.
Noah Gregson and Suarez contact into turn 3.
Suarez goes around the big smoke screen, and the caution has come out. Okay, Steve, now you have so much pressure on these crews. The crews have to have a perfect stop. It's going to be a 4-tire stop for everybody.
Everybody's going to pit. Everybody's going to take 4 tires. You're going to have a perfect stop, or at least a solid stop, right? You can't go so fast you make a mistake. But, this is what they train for, is these moments right here. Everybody who's a lap down, I think, will take the wave around, so this is going to put a lot of cars back on the lead lap. Those guys will be on old tires. They won't be a big part of the story.
A big advantage here, Steve, is the 17 has put so many cars between he and the 11. All right, look at all the cars that are between those two. So the 17 should have a gap coming to his pit box, which should allow them to not have to rush. They shouldn't have to have, a 2-second they could have an equal pit stop and come off with still the lead. So the 17 needs to take their breath here and not try too hard.
And Jeff, the reason you say that is you can't pull up to pit, correct? That's the gap that you're talking about with those cars.
Well, the lap cars will pull up. They'll pull up to the right. And then Denny Hamlin, when they pull up to the right, Denny will start pulling up closer to the 17. But he won't be at his bumper, but he will be a little bit closer. But you can see right here, look at the gap.
On to pit road they come. Dylan.
Only thing the leader Chris Buescher asked for was a touch of center turn in the 17 middle of your screen. He'll make an air pressure adjustment. Ryan Preece said he lost drive at the end, but fired off good. That's the important thing for the 41, Marty.
Dylan, we'll see if Denny Hamlin's pit crew can make up any of that gap coming to pit road. He said, I just need more help turning the center, but I cannot be any looser off the corner. The 17 and 41 already coming by pit road. In fact, the 17's already gone by. Denny Hamlin comes in second. Looks like they'll come out second as well.
Great point.
Big stop for the 8. Look at Kyle Busch gaining a spot now. He will be either on the inside of row 1 or he will be in row 2. Remember, they will still choose where they restart. So now it's going to be a fight, and it could come down to less than 5 laps. Who will win here in Richmond? getting ready for the restart. It will be a sprint to the finish. NASCAR Cup Series racing from Richmond, presented by Toyota. And it continues next week. We go from a 3/4 mile track to a 2-mile Cooper Speedway in Michigan International Speedway. And Saturday, the Xfinity Series on NBC and Peacock. That starts at 3 o'clock with the race at 3:30. Then on Sunday, countdown to green at 2, and Cup Series racing at 2:30 on USA. Yeah, what are we thinking now, as Scott Graves didn't want to see that caution come out, but it did.
All right, drivers, where are we choosing?
I think you want to be on the bottom. You know, I think get down and get a good restart, get down in the corner and push them out of the way, win the race. I think the guy who restarts third is in a good position.
So that's what Buescher has done. And we see Kyle Busch has chosen that high line as well in the second row.
That makes me nervous, being on the bottom. Yes, historically on short tracks, take the bottom, but this racetrack, the top will work, the middle will work. If Denny Hamlin can get a good launch right here, he's got a shot. Let's listen to what Buescher and his team are talking about.
Don't let the 11 do you like you did Kyle Larson last week, man. You just take charge of this one and go win it. Yes, sir. We're really good. He's done a hell of a job.
So do you think that might have determined his choice to take the bottom, not let Denny on that inside so that Denny wouldn't be in that position again?
And does Chris Buescher think he has the right to peel the 11 off after what he saw last week?
That's what I would have rather heard from the spotters, to say, remember what he did, why don't you do the same thing?
Here we go. It'll be 3 to go. Buescher on the inside, Hamlin on the outside. Green flag back in the air.
That's a good launch for the 17. Priest in the 41 side by side with the 11. Denny comes on the outside, a big run.
Logano as well in the 22. He moves to the outside, but Hamlin has closed the gap. 3 wide for third.
Hamlin's car is better right now. Buescher's going to have to block.
Under 2 to go.
Denny locks up the left front. He's up the racetrack.
How about Joey Logano? Where did he come from?
Logano fighting for that second spot now. Hamlin trying to regroup. They're side by side for second. Hamlin back out into that second spot. 1 lap to go. Presented by Credit One Bank. Chris Buescher, after a dominant performance, 86 laps out in front, down the backstretch for the final time. The 30-year-old from Prosper, Texas, which, by the way, has a population of 30,000, is going to win in front of more here in Richmond. Buescher wins at the short track.
Hell yeah, guys! All right, guys. That's the team we can be racing on.
They're wrecking in the back of the field. Cars spinning around backwards on the front straightaway.
Cindric's involved. Allmendinger, we see him riding it now. The 77 also has gone around and tied Dillon.
All these cars stayed out, got the wave around on all the tires.
And they wrecked for a lap.
Yeah, they did.
They finally had it. What a great day for Buescher. Roush Fenway, Keselowski racing.
Got a feel for Brad Keselowski, leading so many laps, had such a strong car. I know he is absolutely thrilled to have won this race as a team owner, but man, he cannot wait to go to victory lane himself as a driver.
You mentioned RFK. Keselowski and Buescher combined led 189 laps. They were the top 2 lap leaders in this race. Caution late in this one made it harder for Buescher. But what a launch he had on the restart. This checkered flag moment brought to you by Advance Auto Parts. shredded rubber coming off of the 17. 4 out of the top 6 all driving Fords. Are they back? Can we make that comment early?
Well, they're back at the short track for sure.
Crew coming out.
The pride of Prosper, Texas gets a win here at Richmond. RFK dominant here on a warm Sunday afternoon. Richmond race fans, Chris Buescher is your winner. Love to see this celebration with this race team. This organization has worked so hard to get to this point and back to victory lane. Of course, won Bristol, as we showed a moment ago last year. But this one guarantees their spot in the playoffs. And that's worth a hug for everybody on the race team. Scott Graves, as crew chief, comes in on a hot and exhausting day. I think he'll find a way to celebrate a little bit more. Helmet coming off. Boy, what was your thought when that caution came out, Chris? What were you thinking? Because you had it in hand.
Yeah, it was smooth sailing there, trying to take care of this fast on Mustang, and these guys over at RFK, the 17 team, gave me a great hot rod. This thing was so good, and just trying to take care of it there. And about the time Scott came to the radio, he said, "That's working perfect. Keep it up. Caution." I was like, "Yeah, that's about right." But I knew even on our green flag stuff, we were so strong during the race, so I had a good feeling about it there. So pretty awesome to pull it off. Proud of everybody, because that was a long way from the back this morning, so heck of a race for us.
It was 7 days ago that I was talking to your crew chief, Scott Graves, and he said, we're a 6th to 15th place car right now. As an organization, we need to take a step forward. Are you surprised it came so quickly and in such dominant fashion?
We've had this one circled since last fall, so I was really hopeful this could be the one that would turn the page for us, and sure enough, right off the truck, I thought it was. So I hate that qualifying went the way it did, because I was sitting there just beating myself up trying to figure out what we're going to do from there. But made the victory lane here in Richmond. I told you to flood this place 3 years ago, so my opinions are changing quite a bit here, and man, what a day there. That's awesome.
I know it was fun racing the boss. Is there a way to describe to the fans here and the fans at home how much work has gone into this for RFK to get back to victory lane?
Probably not. I mean, there's so much that's happened in the 15 years I've been there. But the last 2 years, last 18 months, just to see the turnaround, new car kind of being a good reset for us, to be able to be competing for wins at a lot of different styles of racetracks, and a couple checkered flags now. Some great pit strategy there, some great pit stops. It's every department working hard to make this happen and get us this checkered flag. We've been talking about this a lot, and you don't get to ask me about points anymore.
There you go. No more talk about points, because they are guaranteed, Rick, to be in the playoffs. Chris Buescher, the 17 team, they'll be a playoff player this year with the win here at Richmond.
You're right, Marty. The win and you advance to the playoffs has happened for Chris Buescher. He will now head to the Ruoff Mortgage Victory Lane to celebrate career win number 3. Chris Buescher, after a dominant performance toward the end of this race, had to show his skills on a restart, and he did just that. He was able to put some distance between himself and second place Denny Hamlin. After a long fight, but big smiles for all RFK as Buescher gets to victory lane. We'll be here till the top of the hour, 7 o'clock.
This copyrighted telecast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or used in any form without the authorized written consent of NASCAR Broadcasting. NASCAR would like to thank all of our fans for your support, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.
Well, strong day for Denny Hamlin, and with 2 to go, your car shot up the track. What happened?
I drove in way too deep. I was trying to get to the outside there. Man, I really had a great run off of turn 2 on the restart and then off of 4 again. But, yeah, I was just so close to him there that I wanted to try to squirt a little extra gas to try to get to the outside and just too much brake. So, man, I'm happy for Chris and RFK and those guys. I know they worked really hard to get to this point, and I can appreciate the struggle that it is to get to this point. So congratulations to them, and definitely a great job by this Mavis team. Just continue to keep me in it all day long. We just lacked a little bit to be the best there, so we just need to improve on it, and still a good day.
2 things on the choose there at the end. Were you happy to get the outside line? And did it ever cross your mind that some of these guys might think, oh, they might have a little license with me this week after last week and all the discussions?
No, I appreciate it's a good talking point, but no, it was not. I'm out there trying to win the race for sure. And I loved getting the front row, but I just got a god-awful restart. And, you know, Kyle just pushed me down the front straightaway, which is really helpful for us. So thanks for that. And I just didn't do a good job on the restart, and then I didn't do a good job into turn 1 on the second last lap. But our team gave us a shot, and the race should have been his anyway, you know, the caution at the end. So it was just kind of a second chance on life for us there at the end.
Denny Hamlin, so strong here often and strong again today.
It's a 4th place finish for Joey Logano today, and thought you were going to have a look at it there at the end, but you kind of came out of nowhere to even be in that position. What changed on your race car that allowed you to get up front and contend at the end?
Yeah, we really weren't that bad with the Show Penzo Mustang, just a little bit off from the best cars, and really could hang. If he put us 5th, we'd probably hang at 5th, but just qualifying as poorly as we did, slowly getting our way up there, had a couple setbacks during the race. It's just kind of made us hang around that 7th to 10th place range there for a little bit, and I knew we just had to get there. Then Paul did a good job. Must have been a special match set of tires, just I don't know, but it fired off pretty good. Was able to roll the outside of 2 lanes there, and when Denny screwed up and slid up, it got me down the middle, and I was like, oh, well, then maybe this is okay. And then it allowed the 8 get back to my outside, and we gave up a spot there. But I saw him. I got excited. I was like, oh, I'm almost there. I needed one more caution. It would have been fun.
What do you make of the Ford performance today? Just across the board, it seemed like you guys were the cars to beat, and you obviously came through at the end too. Was this a big weekend and a step in the right direction for the overall performance of the manufacturer?
I think where our weaknesses were hidden today by the lack of grip on the racetrack. Mechanical grip seems to come in, and it's hard to put the power down as it is. So I think just where our weaknesses are, we're masked, and I'm glad Chris was able to capitalize on it and a Ford got in victory lane. We need to get more of them in there, but nice to see one in victory lane right now.
Hard-fought day for Joey Logano. It's a nice top 5, 4th at Richmond.
And the celebration continuing for Buescher and that 17 team in Ruoff Mortgage Victory Lane here at Richmond. We'll have plenty more drivers and folks to talk to from here at Richmond. The biggest smile on the face of Chris Buescher getting career win number 3. NASCAR America Post Race is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Save when you bundle auto, home, or motorcycle insurance. Visit progressive.com. And the other driver for RFK Racing that had the most laps led today, Brad Keselowski, standing by with Dylan.
And ultimately going to end up 6th today, but the lap leader at 102 laps. So how do you feel about that? I mean, your teammate won, your car won, but it's not you in victory lane.
Yeah, I'm happy for Chris. We're incrementally building. Solid day for both teams here at RFK. I'm happy for everybody that works on these teams. Everybody that supports us with Fastenal and Ford and Build Subs. And, we led a lot of laps with both cars. Neither cars really started up front and drove through. Had a great job with the pit crews and just a lot to be proud of today. Of course, I want to win as a driver, but just happy that we're as competitive as we are, and we just want to keep building and keep getting more competitive every week.
I was in your hauler before the race, and Matt McCall, your crew chief, said, sometimes the changes and progress we're making, you don't always see those, but we are making it. Is this a statement that you guys are legit and you are making progress?
Yeah, I mean, one win's good. Like, you get 3 or 4 or 5, then you feel a lot better, but sure beats not having any at all they're doing, but we want to keep going. It's nice to have one car locked in the playoffs. We need to get both cars locked in the playoffs. We have a good points gap. But we want wins, and this is where we need to be.
You go home next weekend to Michigan. Is that one that you have circled that you would like to get in victory lane for?
Yeah, Michigan's always been a great track for what was Roush and then Roush Fenway, and hopefully it'll be that way again for RFK. We know it's not going to be easy. There's a lot of great competition there, but it's nice going in there with a win under your belt.
All right, well, Brad Keselowski's in victory lane celebrating with his team, and He ends up 6th today, but more importantly, Chris Buescher, the teammate and team car in victory lane.
Thanks, Dylan. Ford has won the last 8 Michigan races. We take a look at the Progressive safe driver. And we'll put that to Brad Keselowski as well as Chris Buescher. And what a performance we had seen out of Buescher. That better stop by Buescher and his crew got him out in front. And we saw there Brad Keselowski with the difficulty on his pit stop. Dropped him back just a little bit, but in the end, it was ultimately that crew again having a great pit stop at the end, getting him back out in front.
Well, you heard Brad and Chris both mention in their interviews about where they started and where they ended up, right? I mean, Brad wasn't bad in 13th, but Chris Buescher started 26th. And other than, you know, we had 2 stage ends and that caution basically at the end of the race. So all the positions gained by Chris Buescher were the blue-collar, hard-earned way of passing them on the racetrack. There was no strategy involved or no tricks, just a fast race car.
You mentioned strategy. One driver who was on a different strategy than most today was Martin Truex Jr. He is with Marty.
Martin Truex Jr. winds up 7th. Boy, what a crazy strategy race today. You guys were on the one-stopper in both stages. How difficult was that to keep up with behind the wheel and also with what all was going on around you?
Yeah, it was tough. I mean, honestly, the whole day was really tough. You know, this place is never easy, but felt like just as loose as we were all day, man, it was a handful. And the car was just so on edge. It was really, really difficult to drive. It was difficult to make 2 laps the same, and just really had to battle. So, you know, good job by the guys doing what they did to come up with that strategy. I was flipping out because I didn't know what was going on. I couldn't hear James again on the radio. I don't know why, but, you know, just a, you know, really hard-fought battle day for our Bass Pro Shops Camry. So, you know, I thought we probably was going to run 5th there without the caution, and then we were just so bad on the short runs today for whatever reason. You know, just luckily only lost 2 spots there in the last start. So all in all, a decent day. Just man, it was tough.
So inside Denny's car, we had a thermometer. It was 135 pretty much all day long. How difficult was this race physically, Martin?
It was tough. Definitely really, really hot. It felt longer than 400 laps. You know, I'll be honest. We got to end of stage 2, and I'm like, there's no way. I thought that was a checkered flag. So, I mean, it just felt really, really long. My face felt hottest just because of the helmet blower. It just sucks cold air or cool air from outside, and it just felt like a hairdryer. So, like, my cheek feels like it's sunburned. Very, very hot, but yeah, it is what it is. So we hung on. My shoulder's doing better than the rest of it. Or my shoulder hurts more than anything just from how loose I was all day. So I'll work that out. But the heat wasn't too bad other than on my face.
Day of survival for Martin Truex Jr., but it winds up being a top 10 here at Richmond.
3rd today for Kyle Busch, and on that last pit stop, your crew picked you up 1, and then you had a shot. What happened?
I don't know. Denny spun his tires a little bit there on that start and just automatically got us a row behind, and hard to make that back up, you know. But 22 also had a hell of a run through 1 and 2 on the outside, and I got pinched lower than letting my car kind of naturally drift out on the exit. So, you know, just was able to battle back and get a 3rd, though. So that's the finish that we deserved, which is really, really good. We had a great car to kind of run the first 50 laps of a run, and then it would really drop off. So we short pitted each time. But, you know, thanks to the NetSpend X World Wallet credit card and everybody else for being a part of our program, RCR, ECR especially. I ran the heck out of this motor today and spent a lot of time in 4th gear, but just that's what helped me with my driving style the way we were doing it today. So feels good to run a solid top 5 like that.
Kyle, a lot of green flag racing today. We kind of wondered about the physicality out there. How was it?
I'm ready to go.
You look good.
Yeah, 400 more. Let's go. Hey, I mean, it's warm, it's hot, but these cool shirts are a world of difference, you know, so that certainly helps a lot. I wouldn't run a hot race without one anymore, but, you know, when it comes to the wintertime, I tend to shy back away from it. But overall, yeah, just I love night racing at Richmond. If we could please bring night racing back at Richmond, that would be awesome, but I get it.
Kyle is cool either way.
Yeah, he was cool, and we heard from 2 veterans there with Martin Truex Jr., Kyle Busch, both having finishes, not both of them in the top 5, but Kyle Busch 3rd, Martin Truex Jr. 7th. Good finishes for both drivers.
Well, I think Kyle Busch evaluated his day pretty accurately. 3rd place was pretty solid for where they were at. This is a team that wrecked 3 times at New Hampshire, the last shorter style track we saw, and they had short tracks circled as a place they had to improve. And what I saw out of the 8 is a team that did improve. And for the 19 of Truex, I am sure that it was confusing and a battle from inside the car because he was always upside down on tires. Rarely did he feel like he had an advantage. But from where they were at 26th or whatever it is to come all the way back and finish inside the top 10, when everyone does finally cool off, they'll have to see that as a pretty impressive performance.
Yeah, and Kyle Busch obviously not happy with not having a real opportunity to win this race, but this was his first short track top 10 of the season. And also his teammate Austin Dillon finished 9th. So thinking ahead to Phoenix, did they make a gain? Did they learn something today that they can apply to Phoenix if they make it to that with a chance to win a championship?
And the other thing, too, with Kyle Busch today is they struggled in that first stage. They dropped out of the top 10, and I thought that they were going to have another, difficult, frustrating afternoon at a short track, which had been the norm for them this year. They turned that around. They improved that car, made it better. He was talking about how he was loving all the changes that they continue to make on that car, making it better and better. And really, if we get another couple of restarts, that's a winning car. That's a car that wins this race, which would have been a bit of a surprise to me after watching that first stage.
Remember, Kyle Busch started 2nd on the race. Chris Buescher, who's in victory lane, he started 26th. So a lot of work put in by the 17 team. And, of course, to the victor goes spoils. And right now they're celebrating.